All right, here we go. Super debate watch. Now, Jack, let's hear some debate predictions. Who's going to be the best debater in the debate?
I think Ron DeSantis is going to have improved, but he's still going to be horrendous. I think Ramaswamy is going to be even deeper in his rhetoric. I think Nikki Haley is going to go a bit harder because she has to.
Okay, what do you think is going to be?
She's not running.
What do you think is going to be the most cringe thing? Who's going to be the most cringe?
Vivek.
You think Vivek? Oh,
yeah.
I think it's got to be either Mike Pence or Ron DeSantis for most cringe.
Interesting. Maybe. Depends how many times he says woke.
Now, who's going to be the most crazy?
DeSantis.
Okay, and who is going to be the most like to embody a living waterbed?
Chris Christie.
All right. Those are the pre-debate questions. We'll see if I remember them at the end. Here we go.
High in the hills of California's Simi Valley.
How is that volume?
Stands a monument to one of the most beloved leaders in our nation's history, Ronald Reagan.
I want us to be able to be above it so we don't have to pause all the time, you know?
America's 40th commander-in-chief. He railed against big government.
Uh-huh.
9 most terrifying words in the English language.
Was he railing against big government when he sold those missiles to Iran? Was that a big government thing?
Massive government.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yes. Taking care of your people is the worst thing you can do. Because that's... Don't take credit for Gorbachev's success, Ronald Reagan. What a disgusting...
The Republican Party faces critical questions.
Oh no! Oh no, we're in a Gorbachev loop. This is the worst thing that could happen to our Soviet Union. Oh, I forgot Tom Scott was here.
We will stop the earmarks.
What is America's role in the world?
We need to build a military fitted to the widening challenges in an ever more dangerous world.
Sometimes you avoid war by showing you're tough.
And the country
Look at him,
faces
he's
even more
huge.
challenges. Would Reagan even recognize the country in which we now live?
What are you talking about? Reagan almost got his mug shot too, guys. He was like the second most criminal president. A lot of people think it's Nixon. No, he's the third most criminal. What? Is it in California?
Well, it must be. That's so weird.
Oh, it's in Latin American as well. They're trying to get their Latin American debate. That's what Univision is. It's the Latin American channel.
2024 primary, live from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California. We're inside the spectacular Air Force One Pavilion, where the stage is set for a showdown.
Oh, you're just going to remind us of 9/11. Have it hanging over the debate the whole time.
Fox Business. And I am thrilled to be sitting alongside my co-moderators, Fox News Channel Dana Perino and Ilya Calderon, Univision.
Good evening.
Thank
you, Stuart. President Reagan famously described America as a shining city on a hill. And tonight, 7 candidates will make the case they should be the one to lead that city into a brighter tomorrow. But first, they have to convince you, the voter. Please allow...
Now, I want to be clear that I got a bingo... What?
The Republican watchers are angry that the Hispanics...
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that I got a bingo advertisement before this when I had to put my email in to register for Fox News. So, I just want to say, like, I know, the way I know old people, they're going to tune in on this and be like, what is she saying? She needs to learn to speak English.
Allow me to welcome our Spanish-speaking audience. Muy buenas noches a todos. Desde la Biblioteca Presidencial Ronald Reagan.
What? This is America!
This is America! Buscan su voto para las primarias del partido.
Now, what's going to be great here, they're like, hi, welcome to our Latin American audience. We're going to bomb your country and tell your immigrants to stay out. Vote for us.
And so, let's meet the candidates who have qualified and chosen to be on this stage tonight. They are
and chosen Donald Trump.
With the highest polling candidate in the middle. Standing center stage, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
He's still highest?
How?
Flanking the governor, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley.
Yeah, Nikki. Woo!
Living waterbed Chris Christie. I forgot he was here again.
Who?
New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
He's got the weakest smile out of the introductions.
President Mike Pence.
Okay. Oh, weakest.
And North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum.
Okay, he's the worst. His was creepy. When they cut to him, I was alarmed. So it went downhill for those last three.
And 30 seconds to respond if singled out. When their time runs out, we'll all hear this.
Ba-bam. It's a Jeopardy noise.
So please, keep it civilized.
Let's get going. We are in this spacious, sunny place tonight, designed to reflect the very nature and character of Ronald Reagan. It's a place that makes you proud to be an American. Yet today our nation is drowning in division and incivility.
Voters say they dread the 2024 election and find politics exhausting. 2 in 3 Americans think the country is on the
I
wrong
have to
track.
put this
And 3
the writing
in 4
on the fucking
say
screen.
the economy is not in good shape.
Prices are up 18% since 2020. More than half of the U.S. population has little access to childcare. 85% of Americans say their personal finances are a source of stress.
Americans want to believe a leader who says, "You can follow me. I've got you. Don't worry." President Biden is trying to do that with Bidenomics.
Yesterday, on picket lines where auto workers are demanding more wages and job security.
Did he join the
So to
picket
start,
line?
You recently reacted by praising Ronald Reagan for
Hang on, I'm dying because I laughed too hard. Fuck. I'm doing everything wrong. I'm doing everything wrong. I had to switch my monitors because when I switched to Chrome, it was too small, so I need to put it over here. So I'm not used to having my controls on this side. Okay, what? What was that?
I forgot now.
Okay, hang on.
Oh wait, I'm clicking the wrong monitor again.
Firing air traffic controllers in the night, more wages.
Oh,
and
yes.
job security.
This is the first president in history to do this.
Really?
Yeah, it's never been done before. Before this, Tim Scott basically said that we should shoot people who strike for jobs.
Awesome.
I'm
awesome. Great.
exaggerating, but I'm
Man.
exaggerating. But he said something so bad that he had to dial it back. Like he literally said shit that was like illegal to do,
Insane.
and they're like, "Whoa!"
Fist bumps.
Yeah, it's more sanitary. It's more sanitary. It's the best thing we got from COVID. I love it.
It's saying, you strike, you're fired. Would you fire thousands of striking auto workers today, Senator?
This is what I just told you last time.
It's saying security. Senator Scott,
What the fuck?
you recently
I rewound because yeah, listen.
praising Ronald Reagan for firing air traffic controllers in the 1980s. It's saying, you strike, you're fired. Would you fire thousands of striking
Reagan.
auto workers today, Senator?
Yes, with a gun.
The President of the United States cannot fire anybody in the private sector.
Oh, now you say that.
If you look back at the first bill in Congress under Joe Biden, the first bill had $86 billion for union pensions because they continue to overpromise yet underdeliver. One of the challenges that we have.
I'm not listening anymore, honestly.
Is that they want 4-day French work weeks, but more money. They want more benefits, working fewer hours. That is simply not going to stand. I sat in a finance committee hearing when a widow came before the committee.
You hear that, workers?
Go
fuck you. Work
fuck
more.
yourself.
$4,000 a month. Unfortunately, it had been cut to $1,000 a month. We must make sure that we honor the commitments that we make, and one of the ways that we do that, do not overpromise and then underdeliver and leave the taxpayers on the hook. I'll say this. Joe
When he says
Biden
taxpayers,
should not be
he
on the
means
picket
business
line.
owners
He
and
should be
everybody
on
else
the
can go fuck
southern
themselves.
border, working to close our southern border because it is unsafe, wide open, and
Shut up,
insecure.
Tim.
leading to the deaths of 70,000 Americans in the last 12 months because of fentanyl. It is devastating. Every county in America is now a border county because fentanyl has devastated Americans in every single state. I will also say 6 million illegal crossings since Joe Biden has taken office. And he eliminated Title 42. The one thing he
didn't.
Is
no,
finish the wall,
lie. Lie detected.
Title 42 and get the job
We need
done.
a buzzer.
I can promise you that we are going to have a lot of questions.
I want to get a lie detected thing above any debate, you know? I think Ron DeSantis' wife jump scare.
You've said you really empathize with the strikers. You're standing next to Senator Scott.
What a haircut, Jesus.
He got taller.
Or do you think he's wrong?
I think he just got a shit haircut.
Sure. I like the spirit of it.
It's like his hairline's receding sideways.
He's trying to compensate for the hairline, yeah.
I do have a lot of sympathy for the workers, however. People are going through real hardship in this country.
There you go, Mr.
I've been through
Populist. Get
hardship
it.
growing up. My father stared down layoffs at GE under Jack Welch's tenure at the GE plant in Evendale, Ohio. My mom had to work overtime in nursing homes in Southwest Ohio to make ends meet and pay off our home loan. So I understand that hardship is not a choice.
Where are your parents now?
Victimhood is a choice, and we choose to be victorious in the United States of America. You know what? If I was giving advice to those workers, I would say go picket in front of the White House in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
That's really where
you
the
going to
protest
transport
needs to
them?
be. Disastrous economic policies that have driven up prices, that have driven up interest rates and mortgage rates. At the same time, wages remaining stagnant. What we need is to deliver economic growth in this country. Unlock American energy.
What is that about wages?
Drill, frack, burn coal,
Okay.
embrace nuclear energy, put people back to work by no longer paying them more money to stay at home, stabilize the U.S. dollar itself, and rescind
The most stable currency on earth, yes.
Unconstitutional federal regulations that are hampering our economy. That is how we unleash American exceptionalism. And that's not a Democratic vision or a Republican
It's a
vision.
fascist
That is
vision.
an American vision that we embrace economic growth. And
Got it.
capitalism is still the best system known to man to lift us up from poverty. And we should not apologize for it.
Okay.
That's what it means to be an American.
Okay.
Someone's excited. Look at this guy in the mustache being like, who's that weirdo?
Make 336 times the number of rank and file workers.
God, can we get a guy who can read?
A wider income inequality trend in the country. The richest 1% now controls 1/5 of all income.
Marxism.
Pence, last week you said you side with American workers, but you also support how these companies operate. Which is it?
Well, thank you for the question.
Both. Okay.
And Fox Business.
I have no real values except banning abortion.
Look, I do disagree with something Tim Scott just said. Joe Biden doesn't belong on a picket line. He belongs on the unemployment line.
Hang on, I got our canned laughter button.
We brought 12,000.
Where is that? Here we go.
To America.
So funny.
I know something about that. I gotta tell you, while the union bosses are talking about class warfare and talking about disparity in wages, I have to tell you, I really believe what's driving that is Bidenomics has failed. Wages are not keeping up with inflation.
They're really going hard.
American workers are feeling it, and families are struggling in this economy.
This is not going to work out, guys.
Green New Deal.
You know, it's like Bidenomics. He's already dark Brandoned you, and thank God that they're not saying Brandon on stage. Can you imagine how cringe that would be? But like, he's already reverse memed Bidenomics. They're just gonna. This isn't a new word. They all agreed it's not woke. It's not ESG. What's the other one? MBS, CCP. What was the other one? ESG and
I have no idea. I can't
the other.
remember.
Come on, you know, DEI. DEI is the other one. Yeah, that Ron. It's we need to get rid of ESG and DEI. That was all Ron DeSantis was saying. You remember?
Okay. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we even did a fascist machine review, and we were laughing at they got both acronyms in there. It's like you're a new person every day. It's like the 51st Dates movie. You know?
I don't remember the second
is
acronym
good
at all.
for Beijing and bad
I don't remember
for
what it
Detroit.
means.
We ought to repeal
Direct
the Green
energy
Deal. We ought to
investment?
Get rid of the mandates and subsidies that are driving American gasoline automotive manufacturing into the graveyard. And beyond that, also, as President of the United States, I'll be standing with workers all across America, and I'll be standing for the right to work of every American to join a union or not join a union as they decide.
Senator Scott, you were mentioned. Will you care to respond?
There's no doubt that Joe Biden needs to be fired. That's why I'm running for president. I look forward to being the next president of the United States. I will also say, I know America can do for anyone what she's done for me. It's why we're focusing
Don't
on
assume their
restoring
gender.
hope, creating opportunities, and protecting the America we all love. Growing up in a single-parent household, I wondered if the American dream would work for a kid in the inner city. I've got good news for every single child. Whether you're in the inner cities of Chicago or the rural parts of Iowa, America and the dream, it is alive, it is well, and it is healthy. God bless these United States of America.
Okay.
I think we need to look at exactly.
He's like
what
a fucking
Biden showed
puppet.
up on that picket line. But why are those workers actually there?
Bidenomics.
It's because of all of the spending that he has pushed through in the economy that's raised the inflation. So when you look at the fact that we are paying higher gas prices, higher grocery prices, $7,000 more a year for families, what we need to do is I came out with an economic plan. Eliminate the gas and diesel tax so that they have more money.
Wait, did the Republicans let the thing that made children not be starving in this country, did that expire? Did the Republicans do that? Do you think that had anything to do with the economy, Nikki? How much money do you think extra parents would have, especially single family households, if that child care didn't expire?
In their pocket. Let's focus on going after middle America and cutting taxes for middle America and collapsing those brackets. Let's get rid of unfair distortions like the state and local tax that they give to wealthy people in blue states and not paid by red states. And let's make sure we make the small business taxes permanent.
Okay,
they only
communist.
Made those temporary. They made the corporate taxes permanent.
She's not doing
on
great.
What it takes to get more cash in the pockets of workers. That's when we'll be able to deal with strikes like this, not sitting on a picket line like Joe Biden is.
Thank you, Governor Haley. We have other questions to get to about economy. Allow me to.
I just have to. I'm sorry.
Allow me to.
I'm sorry. I have to jump in because we're missing the point, and every other network is missing the point. The reason why people are striking
Stop karate chopping.
is because Joe
Stop
Biden's
it.
interference with capital markets and with free markets. The subsidies, we're subsidizing the automakers and we're subsidizing the cars and a particular kind of car, not every car. We're subsidizing electric vehicles. And when you decide that we're going to take all of your taxpayer money, $1 billion, subsidize a certain type of vehicle, and the batteries come from China. China controls 85% of the rare earth
okay.
They're called rare
How
earth
much do
because they're
our
measured in
auto
parts per million.
parts come from there?
China is moving 100,000 pounds of earth in Indonesia, in Africa. They're literally destroying the planet so that they can make a battery that's in a car subsidized here. That's why they're striking, because they need 2/3 less workers to build an electric car. Joe Biden, this strike is at Joe Biden's feet.
Let her talk.
Christie. The government will shut down if Congress does not reach a deal by the end of this week. Vice President Pence warns that politics of, quote, Trump's populist protégés, like Mr. Ramaswamy, are a road to ruin for the GOP.
Yep.
If the government shuts down,
Chris Christie is melting. He melted significantly more.
Everybody who's in Washington, D.C. They get sent down there to do the job, and they've been failing at doing the job for a very long time. And let's be honest about this with the voters.
Okay.
You know, during the Trump...
When I think about people who don't fail at jobs, it's Chris Christie.
administration, they added $7 trillion. $7 trillion in national debt. And now the Biden administration has put another $5 trillion on and counting. They have failed, and they're in the spot they're in now because none of them are willing to tell the truth. None of them are willing to take on the difficult issues. They just want to keep kicking the can down the road. And the inflation that Nikki spoke about is absolutely right, and it's caused by government spending. And that's why people all across this country are suffering tonight.
Oh, he's revving up Nikki.
We don't get any answers because Joe Biden hides in his basement and won't answer as to why he's raising the debt.
He stole Ron DeSantis' line early.
He hides behind the walls of his golf clubs and won't show up here to answer questions like all the rest of us are up here to answer. He put $7 trillion on the debt. He should be in this room to answer those questions for the people you talk about who are suffering. And if the government closes,
no, let him talk.
To the blame of everyone in Washington, D.C.
Correct.
Failed to do their job
Well
and just
done.
plays to the
Correct.
grandstand.
Look at them.
Thank God a Republican fucking said this.
The people in Washington are shutting down the American
Shut
dream
up, Ron.
with their reckless behavior. They borrowed, they printed, they spent, and now you're
He was
paying
desperate
more
to get a
for
word in.
everything. They are the reason for that. They have shut down our national sovereignty by allowing our
Do you think he looks like Dobby the elf?
open. So please spare me the
A little bit.
crocodile tears for these people. They need to change what's
More
going
the
on.
other
Where's
elf,
Joe
that
Biden?
evil elf,
He's
the
completely
angry
missing
one.
in action from leadership.
What's his
And you know
name?
who else is missing
I
in
can't
action?
remember.
Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this
Ooh,
stage
they're
tonight.
turning on
He
Trump.
owes it to you to defend his record.
They
where
need
they
to.
added $7.8 trillion to the debt. That set the stage for the inflation that we have now. I can tell you this, as governor of Florida, we cut taxes, we ran surpluses, we've paid down over 25% of our state debt, and I vetoed wasteful spending when it came to my desk. And as your president, when they send me a bloating spending bill that's going to cause your prices to go up, I'm going to take out this veto pen and I'm going to send it right back to them.
Here goes the fake smile. Knew it. There it is.
A question that is on the minds of a lot of moms and dads and Americans, and I know that you've been thinking about it because childcare costs, they are up. They're topping $10,000.
Who started? Who
Some families
caused
are
that?
spending up to half of their income.
Who caused
on
that?
Childcare, and they're having to decide: is it worth it for me to work
On child?
or
Whoa!
does it
Half their
really
income on
financially?
childcare.
In 3 days, the billions of dollars.
Remember when we
in
eliminated
childcare
child
funding is
poverty
going to end.
for 6 months?
70,000
What happened to that?
daycares could close. So you had an effort to broaden eligibility for child care assistance. That fell apart last year. And for the moms and dads out there who are worried, what can you tell them if you weren't able to get it through the Congress? How could you do it as president?
Certainly one of the things I did as a member of Congress was to make sure that we protected the Head Start
I slept a
programs around
lot,
the country, giving people
obviously.
the opportunity to pick and choose the place that they send their children. The challenges that we see today under the Biden administration is that the cost for daycare has gone over $15,000 per child. In the Build Back Broker plan, he called it a Build Back Better plan, it was going up to $29,000.
This is-
The
he
way
keeps on
we
making these
fix that
jokes.
problem is to make sure that we actually cut taxes and give more Americans their money back. When I helped write the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we actually lowered a single mother's taxes by 70% on the federal level. For dual income households by 60%. Then we went a step further. We doubled the child tax credit and made it refundable. By doing that, more parents had more resources to make the decisions how to take care of their family. The one thing we should do is let the American people keep their money. When that happens, the greatest opportunity
talking about rich
rise
people.
from the ashes.
Okay, I'm going to give you 15 seconds. Go ahead, and then we're going to the border.
Ilya mischaracterized a part of my view. I think this artificial division is unhelpful in our party. The real divide is not between the Republicans on this stage. And in the Reagan Library, I want to say these are good people on this stage. The real divide is between the majority of us in this country
They're going to hunt
who
you for
love the
sport,
United
dog.
States of America and share our founding ideals. Free speech, meritocracy, the idea you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character, and the fringe minority in the Democrat Party that has a chokehold over that party. That's the real divide. Right. So this populist versus class.
Okay, time to shut up now. Goodbye.
We need to unite this party.
We're going to talk about killing Mexicans now.
Childcare. We have
This is a nightmare.
We have all these questions. We're going to get to you you. We're going to come back to you. There's a lot of
Shut the
Child
fuck
care,
up.
Nobody answered the question. In
Bro,
North
shut
Dakota,
up.
We knew that the cliff was coming. We knew that there was going to be millions of people without it. And so guess what? We planned.
Okay.
And when we passed legislation because
Shut up.
child care
We will
is
get you some questions, but you're going to have to let us move on. We are going to the border next.
child care
sir,
is
Elaine,
workforce
please.
Dude,
infrastructure.
is this the second time that he's took control of the situation?
This is insane.
You know what? Because this is so he got the lowest time last time.
Oh, he's
So
trying to get the most,
his guys told him that you need to interject more and you need to take the space. They're just not going to give him questions, I hope, in response to this.
That'd be funny.
The following.
Okay, before we hear from Ronald Reagan, all right, I got a different candidate for us to support. Okay, what do you think of this guy? I think it's a face we could trust.
The idea of amnesty for those who have put down roots and who have lived here, even though sometime back they may have entered illegally.
2 years later, President Reagan granted amnesty to nearly 3 million immigrants.
The most
something
based thing that he ever did.
Or Republican president has done since. Governor Christie, as governor of a non-border state in 2010, you supported a path to citizenship. But when you ran for president in 2016, you flipped, saying
He's melted
immigrants
more
should be
since we last saw
trusted
him.
like
He's
FedEx
melted even more.
packages.
How is this
Where do you
possible?
stand
Look
now
at him.
on the path to
His
citizenship for
eyes are like drooping down and stuff.
The problem is that since no one has done anything since we first had this discussion 13 years ago, we're not in a position to be able to do any of that anymore. What we have to do now is first treat this like the law enforcement problem it is. Our laws are being broken every day at the southern border, every day. And Joe Biden and his crew is doing nothing about enforcing that law. They are letting it go. And
Local
by the way,
laws,
they
dude.
announced during the presidential race they were going to let it go.
Skill issue.
And we need to have a president who acts like I
Gov.
did as governor. Enforce the law first and foremost. And that means what I'll do on day one is sign an executive order to send the National Guard to partner with Customs and Border Patrol to make sure that we stop the flow of fentanyl over the border, but also to make sure that we send a much different message. We want you here in this country to fill the 6 million vacant jobs we have, but only if you come here to follow the law and only if you come here legally. If you come here illegally, we will apprehend you and we will send you back across the border from which you came. And the fact is that until we set a law and order agenda in this country, not only now, but in the future, we won't be able to continue this. And I'll tell you this, Donald Trump failed on this as well.
Yep.
He said he was going to build a wall across the whole border. He built 52 miles of wall and said Mexico would pay for it. Guess what? I think if Mexico knew that he was only going to build 52 miles, they might have paid for the 52 miles.
Good diss. You gotta laugh.
That's
Chris
funny.
Christie redeeming himself.
South of the border.
Well done.
You've seen the Fox News drone. It's captured this steady stream of people
Uh-huh.
coming into the country on a daily basis. In fact, I believe we have a live picture of it tonight. That is happening right now.
Oh no, they're getting on a bus.
The U.S. has spent nearly
Crazy.
$55 billion.
This looks
to
legal
address the
to me.
root causes of migration. But crime, poverty, and corruption, they persist.
Hey, who's that lady with the
Migrants
clipboard? Do you think she has information on everyone?
wasting our money.
Better get her out of the shot, guys.
When
Come
Joe
on.
Biden waved the green flag, it told everybody to come. And now we've seen 6 million people cross the border. We've had more fentanyl that have killed Americans in the Iraq, Vietnam, or Afghanistan wars combined. We need to make sure that we are a country of laws.
She's
the
real
second we
stumbling.
stop being a country of laws, we give up everything this country was founded on. So we have to secure the border. The way
This
we
country
do
was
that
founded
is,
on
first of
burning
all,
flags and
defund
toppling
sanctuary cities.
statues
You
that
see
were
what's
then made
happening in
into bullets
Philadelphia
to
right now.
kill
It's
police.
gotta stop.
Okay?
We need to make sure we put 25,000 more Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground and let them do their job. I spent 400 miles down that border, and I'm telling you, Border
How do you
Patrol
spend
agents aren't
miles?
allowed to do their job. Let's go back to Remain in Mexico policy.
I think
Instead of
Nikki
catch
Haley
and
is the
release,
biggest
let's
fall
go to
from
catch and
grace from the
deport.
last
And
debate.
let's make-
That we've
Yep,
been,
so
what about
far.
the aid that federal taxpayers are paying to deal with the root causes? It's
Don't
not
interrupt
working.
her.
The only aid that we should be spending right now is to secure the border, the southern border, the northern border, period.
You would cut
we
off
need
aid
to
to the
keep
region?
Americans safe, and right now Americans are not safe. Only when we fix the immigration system, only when we get the border secure, should we ever look at putting any more money into this. Our money should be about keeping Americans safe. We're not doing that. Joe Biden's not doing that. And you mentioned Congress and
you know what would
shutting
keep
down
them safe?
government. I'll make it
Healthcare.
clear, we have to change the budget process in 4 years.
Boring.
In 40
Boring.
years. Congress has only delivered a budget on time.
You're not
4
delivering a good
times
point.
in
Nobody
40
cares what you're
years.
saying.
If they don't keep the government open,
Okay.
they should not get paid. No pay, no budget.
Next,
That's the
see,
way we
they're
should
not. They let Chris Christie in, not her.
Question for you.
She is too boring.
DeSantis, China invested
China.
$12 billion in Latin America just last year.
Oh, no.
They signed strategic partnerships with 7 countries, including Mexico. And China's military
Oh,
ties
no.
to the region now include arms sales and training exercises. Are you comfortable with China deepening ties with our southern neighbors?
Of course not. And the reason why we're in this mess is because elites in D.C. for far too long have chosen surrender over strength when it comes to the CCP.
Boring. Heard this be a line before.
Rich, our industrial base got hollowed out, and they have been able to build the second most powerful military in the entire world.
Mhm.
We need a totally new
What
approach
happened to the
China.
other
We are
second
gonna
one,
have
though?
real hard power in the Indo-Pacific.
Why are they the
like
second one
Reagan,
now?
to
What happened to
deter
the
their
guys who were
ambitions.
before them?
We're going to have economic independence from China, where we're decoupling our economy, and we are going to go after the cultural power they have in this country. As governor of Florida, I banned the CCP from buying land in our state. We should
Heard
do
it
that
before.
all across these United States.
What have you done for me lately?
We shouldn't have Confucius Institutes.
Okay, I'm liking this.
You see a country in decline, our powers in
No, go
decline.
back to the Confucius
China's gonna
Institute stuff,
surpass
please.
us this decade, and if they do that, that's going to affect every single
He should.
American household.
You know what, Ron? Just explain what the Confucius Institute is. Just people will have their minds blown. Do it.
Yep, they will.
Pussy.
Most people have
Pussy.
no idea.
Pussy.
Under Joe Biden.
Oh God, Tim Scott has also been told to start interrupting.
Deportation for all undocumented immigrants and their children, even if the children are citizens of the United States. Under what legal premise will you expel U.S. citizens?
So the first thing I want to say is I agree with everything. The Republicans on the stage are on the right side of this issue. Militarize the southern border, stop funding
Jesus
sanctuary
Christ.
cities, and end foreign aid to Mexico and Central America to end the incentives to come across. But I do go a step further. You're right about that, Ilya. I favor ending birthright citizenship for the kids of
Fuck
illegal
me.
immigrants in this country. Now, the left will howl about the Constitution and the 14th Amendment. The difference between me and them is I've actually read the 14th Amendment.
No, you haven't.
What it says is that all
We read it
persons
yesterday.
born or naturalized
we
in the
did.
United States and subject to the laws and jurisdiction thereof are citizens. So nobody believes that the kid of a Mexican diplomat in this country enjoys birthright citizenship. Not a judge or legal scholar in this country will disagree with me on that. Well, if the kid of a Mexican diplomat doesn't enjoy birthright citizenship, then neither does the kid of an illegal migrant who broke the law to come here. And as the father of 2 sons, it is hard for me to look them in the eye and say, you have to follow the law when our own government fails
come
to
on.
follow its own laws. That's how we really go the distance and solve this problem and restore the rule of law in the United States of America, because that is part of what it even means to be an American.
Senator Scott, you oppose ending
End it again with what it means to be an American, okay?
have wrong on that issue.
Yeah, there's no doubt the fact that when you think of the Constitution and the 14th Amendment, it was certainly written as it relates to slavery, not as it relates to illegal immigration. It's been applied to illegal immigration. So the challenge that we face is, in fact, one that has to do with whether or not the people that come here are under the jurisdiction of our laws. And frankly, if you come here illegally, you are not.
I think Scott just
surviving
owned him.
a Supreme Court argument
Yeah.
is something I can't tell you. But from a perspective of the Constitution, I think it's simple that clearly it was designed for slavery and not for illegal immigration. I'll go one
He's
step
correct.
further, though. When we have a conversation about the things that are happening on this stage, we think about the fact that Vivek just said we were all good people, and I appreciate that, because last debate, he said we were all bought and paid for. And I thought about that for a little while and said, you know, I can't imagine how you can say that knowing that you were just in business with the Chinese Communist Party and the same people that funded Hunter Biden millions of dollars was a partner of yours as well. It's not
broken system. It's not the fault of anybody.
Amazing. What a fucking random thing to happen. That's awesome.
Oh, he's filibustering him too. Come on.
You can't be on both sides.
Gentlemen, you'll have your turn.
Amazing.
So listen up.
Can we please focus on the issues that matter?
Yes, they're both filibustering him. Look at Chris Christie. He's over there melting. He's gotten even smaller. He's shorter now.
I actually agree with Ron DeSantis.
This is amazing.
Exactly. So if I may, I agree with Ron DeSantis on China. When every other CEO expanded into the Chinese market, you know what I did with my first company? We opened a subsidiary in China. But you know what I did that was different than every other company? We got the hell out of there. And when I started my next company, Strive, right when it that's years ago.
Yes, Nikki butted in, so Tim came in again.
To compete against BlackRock. Excuse me.
BlackRock. Ooh, they're hitting him. He's getting. Look, she's loving it too. Did you see? Look at her. Look at this facial expression Nikki does.
To compete against BlackRock, I made a commitment that we would never do business.
Look at her. She loves it.
And I will say something.
Yes. I think you have more than time to explain your point.
Well, if I was interrupted by a lot of people here, and I want to
Nobody cares.
because I believe these
were
are good
respectful
people,
last debate.
but I do not believe we're sitting in the Reagan library. Ronald Reagan's library, if I may, from one admirer of Ronald Reagan to another. From one admirer of Reagan to another, we cannot sit here and violate Reagan's 11th commandment.
This is great. This is awesome.
Let's have a policy debate.
What's going on?
Let us have a policy debate.
Let's have about their record.
Let's have a policy debate. And the right answer is we need to declare independence from China, and I will see that through.
Vice President Pence, in 2017, the Trump-Pence administration canceled DACA, which put the legal status of 600,000 Dreamers in the hands of the courts. Dreamers work and they pay taxes. As president, if the Supreme Court ends DACA, would you work with Congress to reach a permanent solution for Dreamers?
Well, first, let me say I'm glad Vivek pulled out of his business deal in 2018 in China. That must have been about the time.
Oh my God, they coordinated this shit to take him down, dude.
Nice to have you participating in elections. So, let me speak to this issue. Number one, I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy with the Mexican government. We used economic power to bring the Mexican government to the table. We built hundreds of miles of border wall. And despite what's said here today, we reduced illegal immigration and asylum abuse by 90%. And as President of the United States, I can do it again. And the truth is, we need to fix a broken immigration system, and I'll do that as well. But first and foremost,
dude, he daddied him.
Is not a nation.
Did he shush him?
Border of the United States of America. I know how to do it, and we will do it again. Let me say one other thing about China. Let me say one other thing about China.
Would you negotiate with Congress to give a solution to the problem that Dreamers have right now? They are on a limbo.
Well, let me tell you, I served in Congress for 12 years, although it seemed longer. But you know, something I've done different than everybody on this stage is I've actually,
you didn't answer the question. I hope she asks him again. You know, that would be boss.
Ron, you talk a really good game about cutting spending, but you've increased spending in Florida by 30%. When I was a member of Congress in 2006, right after Hurricane Katrina, Dana, you remember it, we stood our ground. I led House conservatives. We cut $100 billion out of the federal budget. It can be done, but as I said in the last debate, I'll say again, this is no time for on-the-job training. I'm going to be ready on day one to get Congress to step up, secure the southern border of the United States, build a military fitted to our times, and we're going to get spending in Washington, D.C. under control once and for all.
I think that was probably the best control yet.
How will these candidates make America safer as rising crime plagues?
Okay, I hope we get a bingo ad now. You think he'll give us an ad here?
Possible.
And welcome back to the Reagan Library for the second Republican presidential debate. I do want to just remind everyone, there's 1 minute for questions, 30 seconds for a follow-up, and the more you mention each other, that means the fewer questions you're going to get. Okay, so we want to talk about crime.
They don't care.
This has been a horrendous problem in our country. Fox News and others have been covering it. Governor Christie, crime in major cities is striking fear into the hearts of Americans.
Did you see the
Just last
Fox
night,
News
looters
aired this?
took over the streets of Philadelphia.
Why did they do it? Why did they do it? Okay. Did you see this report that Fox News aired about like drugs in Seattle?
No.
It's so funny. They're basically like, they tried to be like, and the people of Seattle seem to be unaware. The guy's like, I saw heroin addicts driving up here. And the lady goes, oh yeah, were they hurting you? And he's like, well, I was in a vehicle. And she's like, oh, you were in your car and they scared you? So there was looting and riots in Philadelphia because a cop got no charges after he shot through a windshield and killed somebody. He got acquitted in court.
Awesome.
So that's why this happened. So don't expect them to give you context.
Of course not.
Said in the last debate that you would use.
I haven't even seen the Democrat news, as my mom would say, give context to this. The only people I've seen giving context from it is people like the guy we just interviewed, which will be a surprise because this will come out way ahead of that.
U.S. attorneys to prosecute crimes local prosecutors won't. But they are stretched as well.
Yeah, they robbed the Apple store. They're going free iPhones.
Awesome.
They're handing them out. Shit, it was so cool.
They're all surging. Progressive prosecutors were
no fires.
by their constituents, and
No?
can't be fired
No
by the
fires,
president.
only damage
So
to
what
capitalism,
would you do
and it's
Right.
not like, and you know, they don't have the usual excuse of like they looted black businesses. Like they were showing the Apple store for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So
Good. Free iPhones and laptops and shit.
and it
Fuck
seemed
yeah.
like this was
Headphones
a
for
lot
everybody?
younger of a generation than we've seen in like BLM and stuff as well.
Interesting.
So like we might be seeing more of like this is how Gen Z type organizing, where they're actually targeting actual, because like we've seen these types of like mass robberies that they'll do on like really really rich companies. So maybe this is going to be the new type of protest movement where you're actually doing the right thing and hitting capitalism where it fucking hurts.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And everybody gets a free MacBook. Fuck
yeah, and iPhones, all that shit, dude.
Years,
Hell yeah.
I ran the 5th largest office in this country. At the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey, and we set records for the number of prosecutions that we brought that still have not been broken. And the reason was
that's not good.
After the crime that was affecting people's lives, and as president, I will appoint an attorney general and instruct that attorney general that you are to put all the resources that are necessary to bring our cities back under control. The fact is, they will be stretched. There's no doubt about that, but that's what they take the job for.
So,
because they love the idea of enforcing the law.
Just to be clear, in this case, Philadelphia, in this specific case that they set it up, would be under control if the cop got charged for killing somebody. That's how you get your cities under control. You charge the police.
We've got to bring law and order back to this country.
Yeah, start with the
Not
police.
just in our cities. But we need the law and order back everywhere.
Also, Jack, Biden's dog bit another Secret Service agent.
I did hear that,
Yeah.
And we need it in
Most based Biden.
Good.
Somehow more based than Hunter Biden.
Now tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching.
Oh,
okay?
He is.
And you're not here tonight.
He totally
not
is.
because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because
Can we
you're
kill him?
afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that.
No, it's definitely because of the indictments, but this is a good switch up. He called him Donald Duck. Hang on, we got it. This might be a soundbite. No, this might be a soundbite. Everyone, be quiet.
We're not going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
Okay, I need a
On the
cleaner.
stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
All right.
I hope this becomes. You know how Trump does the nicknames. I hope Chris Christie sticks on this and keeps calling him Donald Duck.
I hope so.
How do you think about dealing with the root causes of crime, especially this revolving door of the criminals that just get out and come back and commit another crime?
Well, the crime in these cities
Yeah,
is
because
one of the
people
strongest
definitely get out
signs
of jail.
The decaying of America. We can't be successful as a country if people aren't even safe to live in places like Los Angeles and San Francisco. Just being in Southern California over the last couple of days, my wife and I have met
It's
3
echoing.
people who have been mugged on the street, and that would have never happened 10 or 20 years ago. In Florida,
It's just
we
Ron
back the
DeSantis.
blue.
Fuck the
We
echo.
support the men and women of law enforcement. They are keeping us safe. We have a 50-year low in the crime rate. And yes, when I had 2 progressive prosecutors that weren't following the law in Florida, I removed them from their
Were you
posts,
following
and
the
people
law
in Florida are safer
when
as
you
a result
tortured
of it.
people?
As president, I will use the Justice Department to
He
bring
didn't
civil
actually
rights
do the
cases
torture
against
himself,
all
man.
of those left-wing Soros-funded prosecutors. We're not going to let them get away with it anymore.
New York Times came out with an article.
Mm.
You know what they said? They fucking took this guy, a real human being, who suffered, who said he can recognize DeSantis. He knew his face.
Interesting.
DeSantis only ever said he was a witness. And he did it on the news. We have video of him saying it. And New York Times comes out and says, like, no evidence that DeSantis, like, tortured him, basically twisting this guy's words, right?
Yeah.
And so the UN recognizes the procedure that they used as torture. So does the EU. So guess what they're doing right now in Brussels?
Changing it?
They just had a meeting with a bunch of Guantanamo survivors.
Interesting.
Big step forward. EU's.
Cool.
Wouldn't it be great if the EU sanctioned America because they haven't closed
That'd be
Guantanamo? That would be based.
That'd be great.
And
That would be
personally sanctioned Ron DeSantis
Yes,
for facilitating
that'd be
torture.
fantastic.
We want to reverse this country's decline. We need to choose law and order over rioting and disorder.
Okay, Torture King.
On a related subject, Governor Haley, there's a nationwide policing shortage. Retirements
Good.
are up, recruitment is in the tank,
Good.
and morale is at a record low. 3 years ago, you signed a pledge to support law enforcement. Now, pledges are a nice idea, but what's your actual plan to get more police on our streets?
Well, and I actually did it in South Carolina, too. You know, what we knew in South Carolina was you take care of those who take care of you. We have to start taking care of law enforcement, but it's not just taking care of them with words. It's making sure that you also follow through on what they do. Right now, we have a lot of stolen guns on the street. Well, these law enforcement officers, they arrest these people, and then they go and they're let out the very next day. So law enforcement feels like no one has their back. We have to start prosecuting according to the law.
Lie
we
detected.
have to make sure we have the backs of law enforcement, and we have to make sure that we're a country of law and order. But I want to go back to China because I don't think we spent enough time on that.
Yeah.
Right now, we have to look at what government's doing to hurt us against China, too. You have a company, U.S. Antibiotics, that produces amoxicillin, the #1 antibiotic that we need. And right now, there is a company in Bristol, Tennessee, that produces that. Yet our federal government only gets it from China. We need to be focusing on companies that produce in America and supporting those companies that produce in America, not companies that are helping China.
Governor, we will be talking foreign policy later. Ilya?
That's not foreign policy, dipshit. What an idiot. How is that foreign policy?
Good question.
And the thing is she's getting out ahead of Vivek Ramaswamy and his like anti-big pharma takes because she's going to say we need medicine and China is fucking us over, getting us inferior medicine for higher costs. You know, she cut him.
Thank you, Stuart. We're going to stay in the topic of crime because it affects all of us. Governor
No, it
Bergen,
doesn't.
for the first time ever, a Univision poll found that mass shootings and gun safety are one of the most important issues for Latino voters. Mental health concerns are not unique to the United States.
He's like, shit, what the fuck's a
Gun
Latino?
Violence is. What is your specific plan to
Wouldn't it be funny if he
gun
said
violence?
Latinx in response?
Well, first we need to know is understand is I think that the liberal left seems to be just completely bent on prosecuting law-abiding citizens that are gun owners, because every solution they have to this is take away the Second Amendment rights of Americans, and somehow that's going to solve the problem. But all these cities that we're talking about that you showed the videos of tonight, they have some.
They
of the
showed
strictest
one
gun
video
laws
of
in the country.
Philadelphia
So
guy.
we know that that's not what's working. But what we have to do is get back to the core issues about the family. We have to get back to behavioral health and mental health. We've got to get back to actually enforcing the laws these people talked about. And And like we've done in North Dakota, where we've got the goal and we're on the track to being the most military-friendly state in the nation. We've got the most military and the most support of what we're doing in terms of law enforcement, because the morale is down because we've been defunding the police, because they've been attacked in the press. The police
went up. Why, detective?
There's all these jobs available in America. Why would you be a policeman if people don't even respect them? Every time I see a policeman, the first thing I say is thank you. And so does everybody else in my family. And
why would you be a policeman? It's because of respect? Okay, first of all, oil workers get paid more.
Most of the people in our state, because they know we have to respect the people that are out there defending us every single day. Can I answer the question on mass shootings?
Mr. Ramaswamy, according to Customs and Border Protection, about 90% of fentanyl is seized at official border crossings, and 57% of the smugglers are U.S. citizens. How would you stop fentanyl brought into the country, mostly by U.S. citizens, through ports of entry?
There's two sides to this, and we have to be very honest about it. One is we do.
You hear what she said at the end? Through ports of entry. You know what that means?
Sure.
Literally, like cargo ports and stuff like that. This is like advanced smuggling. And if he answers this about security on the border, that is an incorrect answer to what she just asked.
Okay, interesting.
You know, this would be like, we need more drug dogs. You know, that would be a more correct answer, to sniff out these, ports of entry.
You have to seal that southern border. Building the wall is not
ports
enough.
of entry. They're legal. They're U.S. citizens.
Underneath that wall, semi-trucks can drive through them. We have to use our own military to seal the Swiss cheese of a southern border. But we also have to be honest. There's a demand-side problem in this country, too.
This is
a
better.
mental health epidemic. I met family in Iowa. Two parents, Kathy and Derek. They lost their son, Sebastian, 17 years old. He bought Percocet on Snapchat, and then he died. Why did he die? Because it was laced with fentanyl. That is closer to bioterrorism, not a drug overdose. That is poisoning. So it is our job to make sure that never happens. But it's also our job to make sure that 17-year-olds don't turn to Percocet via Snapchat. We have.
So, how about we support like drug-safe testing kits?
Yeah.
So people can test fentanyl. That'll stop deaths.
That'd solve everything.
It would stop a lot of deaths.
To bring back mental health care in this country, not with pumping pharmaceuticals, but with faith-based approaches.
Oh my God!
Shut up! Boo!
Generation of Americans. Many of them
You're not even Christian.
Social media, and this isn't a Republican point or a Democrat point. But if you're 16 years old or under, you should not be using an addictive social media product. Period. This is something that we can both agree on, and we can
banning TikTok.
both the mental health of this country while stopping the fentanyl epidemic that will kill more people this year than who died on 9/11. And I refuse to be
Shut
a
up.
bystander.
Don't
sitting in the White
fucking
House like
do that.
husk of a current president we have.
How dare you? Okay, all right. You can't just bring up 9/11 on a debate stage and tokenize an event that changed everyone's lives in this country, changed lives globally. Like, it's not just a number, okay? There's other things that are side effects of that attack, not just a number. Fuck off,
We will step
bitch.
up and address this problem to stand for Americans and our children.
You should go buy some rope. Nikki's cooking on TikTok. I love this.
I'm going to use the U.S. military to go after the Mexican drug cartels. They are killing our.
And we're going to train them again.
In Florida, we had
and then we're going to use them to torture people and get well, and it won't be a U.S. run thing.
People that had rented it before were using drugs. The infant was crawling. The toddler was crawling on the carpet and ingested fentanyl residue and died. Are we just going to sit here and let this happen, this carnage happen in our country? I am not going to do that. So I guarantee you on day one, this border is going to be a day one issue for me as president. We're going to declare the national emergency. Yes, we'll build the wall. We'll remain in Mexico. But those Mexican drug cartels are going to be treated like the foreign terrorist organizations that they are.
All right, Vice President Pence, we're going to move on to a different...
$5 billion. $5 billion.
Last month, Vice President
Then
Pence,
didn't Jared.
you said if elected, you would repeal all Obamacare mandates. However, you also made that same promise in 2016. And at that time, Trump-Pence had congressional majorities for at least the first 2 years, and you did not deliver on that promise. So Obamacare, right now, it is more popular than ever. Why should Americans trust you, if you become president, to fix that, or is Obamacare here to stay?
He preserved the Constitution. He has more credibility than anyone on the stage.
That question, it's an important one, Dana.
Sell out Trump, Pence. Do it.
Believes that justice delayed is justice denied. And as a father of three, as a grandfather of three beautiful little girls, I am sick and tired of these mass shootings happening in the United States of America. And if I'm president of the United States, I'm going to go to the Congress of the United States, and we're going to pass a federal expedited death penalty for anyone involved in a mass shooting so that they will meet their fate in months, not years. It is unconscionable that the Parkland shooter, Ron, is actually going to spend the rest of his life behind bars in Florida. That's not justice. We have to mete out justice. And
ooh, Ron is chewing the inside of his lip. He doesn't like this. He's getting frowny.
But does that mean Obamacare is here to stay?
Well, thank you for reiterating the question, because I'd love to answer it. Look, I think it's one of the choices here. You know, my former running mate, Donald Trump, actually has a plan to start to consolidate more power in Washington, D.C., consolidate more power.
He's turning on Trump.
If I'm president of the United States, it's my intention to make the federal government smaller by returning to the states those resources and programs that are rightfully theirs under the 10th Amendment of the Constitution.
Nice.
That means all Obamacare
Constitution
funding, all
argument.
housing funding, all HHS funding, all of it goes back to the states. We'll shut down the federal Department of Education.
So only Texas, Florida, California, and New York will get anything. Good to know.
Federalism in America, and states are going to help.
The rest of the states will starve.
May I remind everyone to keep within their time frame so that we can get as many questions in as possible. This question for Governor DeSantis. Over 26 million Americans don't have insurance coverage. Governor DeSantis, 2.5 million of them are in your state.
This is Fox Business. They're not having it, you know?
Average. Can Americans trust you on this?
Well, I think this is a symptom of our overall economic decline. Everything has gotten more expensive. You see insurance rates are going through the roof. People that are going.
Who has the global currency?
I spoke with a woman in Iowa, and she said, you know, for the first time in my life,
economic decline is when global power currency.
When I get to the checkout line, because the total goes up so quickly. So this is very real, and people are hurting out there.
You know, it'd be awesome. You know how like America basically, like China basically depends on America's Navy to keep their ships safe, right?
Yeah.
So if he's like, we're going to end protection on ships that are enemies of the United States, there's no reason that NATO and the United States should be safeguarding terrorists like Iran and genocidal maniacs like Xi Jinping. You know, that would be some based rhetoric right there.
That'd be great. Can you imagine?
So we've got to address the.
And then you can talk about, and you know, and if they, you know, if they can't, then their economy is going to shut down, and they'll have to come to us for everything. This will repower the United States. Will be the world order.
Underlying problem.
The Imperium will go forward.
The overspending, taking all Biden's rules and regulations. I'm going to throw them in the trash can.
I'm going to throw them right out. I'm going to throw them right in the trash.
Open up all of our energy. We will be energy dominant in
this
country. That will lower your gas prices.
We are.
And what we need to do with healthcare is recognize
that people need it.
Putting patients at the back of the bus.
No, it's
we
not.
Have big pharma, big insurance, and big government, and we need to
My
tackle
chinchillas
that
are about to fight.
and have more power for the people and the doctor-patient relationship.
Governor, why is your record in Florida on insurance worse than the national average?
Our state's a dynamic state. We've got a lot of folks that come. Of course, we've had a population boom. We also don't have a lot of welfare benefits in Florida. You know, we're basically say we want to. This is a field of dreams. You can do well in the state, but we're not going to be like California and have massive numbers of people on government programs without work requirements. We believe you work and you got to do that. And so that goes for all the welfare benefits. And you know what that's done, Stuart? Our unemployment rate is the lowest amongst any big state. We have the highest GDP growth amongst any big state. And even CNBC, no fan of mine.
Thanks to Disney, your employment is that low.
Yeah. Not for long.
What? You cut out.
Not for long.
My connection dropped. You're kind of frozen. But no, it's my connection. My connection is dropping over here. Disney. He was begging Disney to stop fighting. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to fight anymore, Disney. I don't need it anymore for my campaign stunt. Can you please be nice to me again?
Rank Florida the #1 economy in America.
It's not. It's not.
It's literally not.
Healthcare is the leading cause of bankruptcy for American families, accounting for 2/3.
I love that they're asking him like questions that like commie questions here. You know, like you're gonna give people health care.
First of all, how can we be the best country in the world and have the most expensive health care in the world?
Okay.
My mom was in the hospital, and when she was in the hospital, they tried to bring her a couple of Tylenol, and she said, I don't need it. And they said, honey, go ahead and take it because you're paying for it anyway. Why is it that when we got the bill, the insurance company in the hospital negotiated the bill for her without her having anything to do with it? When I am president, we will break all of it, from the insurance company to the hospitals, to the doctor's offices, to the PBMs, to the pharmaceutical companies. We will make it all transparent, because when you do that, you will realize.
Okay, I like transparency.
The second thing is you've got to deal with tort law. The doctors don't give you the 10 tests because they want to. It's because of the 90% chance they'll get sued. And then we need to bring competition back to healthcare, get rid of certificate of need systems, and make sure that they can compete. We have to put the patient in the driver's seat. They've been in the back seat for way too long. And once we give the patient the ability to
she looped it back around to the backseat thing about
that is when we will
health
see
insurance.
happen. But we're going to have to make every part of the industry open up and show us where their warts are, because they all have them, and we need to fix this on behalf of the American people.
I do like transparency. I do like transparency.
Well, yes, we're not talking about the real problem ever. We talk about why do we have the
insurance
health care in the
insurance.
World. It's because the federal government got involved the same way they did with EVs, and they said we're going to subsidize a particular kind of software back in 2008 under Obama, and they said,
buddy, Biden just lowered drug prices. Why would you take up your time butting in here?
Back to you in their hands on a keyboard. The only industry in the world that's ever absorbed $1 trillion of IT and
I think this guy's the worst.
Less patients per day is
somehow Tim Scott had an own, and that was kind of Tim Scott fucking with Vivek was pretty dope.
It was about picking winners and losers.
You're a loser.
Government's involved, whether it's higher education, healthcare,
bigoted
or now the
fucking
auto industry,
losers.
Things get more expensive and less competitive.
That was a great transition, because we are going to move on the future of education in America. What's the government's
great transition, and we're not going to come back to you on this great question that you would have been better to answer with the answer you just had. Reagan jump scare.
Are we doing a good enough job teaching our children what America is and what she represents in the long history of the world?
Calm down.
And we are back live at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in the Air Force One Pavilion for the second Republican debate. And let's get
watch out, a plane.
Questions, Governor Haley. American students, they are in academic trouble. They have lower scores.
Student loan relief. Let's go, dude.
That's at record highs.
What are these questions? This is fucking awesome.
Homicide. You say school choice is the answer, but South Carolina, your home state, still has not enacted universal school choice, and even the current expansion won't be fully implemented until 2027. Parents can't wait 4 years for a fix. So what would you do right now?
Well, and school choice isn't the only answer, but I'll tell you it's not out of a lack of trying that we didn't try and get school choice in
so you're a failure.
What I'll
Bad
tell you
answer.
first of all is we have to acknowledge the fact
Bad
that
answer.
67% of our 8th graders are not proficient in reading or math. Over 80% of our 8th graders aren't proficient in history or civics. And recently they came out and said our 12 and 13-year-olds are scoring at the lowest levels they've been scoring in reading and math in decades.
Okay.
So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to make sure we catch our kids back up. We have to make sure they can read. A child that can't read by 3rd grade is 4 times less likely to graduate high school. We need to do reading remediation. We need complete transparency in the classroom.
I like transparency.
No wonder what's being said or taught.
Oh, it's going into this stuff. That's not the transparent. I'm talking about economic transparency. That's gross.
We need to move all the programs from the federal government down to the states and let states decide what education looks like.
Okay, so only New York, Texas, Florida, and California will get it. Okay, good to know. Great policies.
And let's get our kids building the things that we know that we can.
We're going to keep the poor states poor and disenfranchised so they keep voting for us. Good plan, Nikki.
That's when we'll start to see a difference. But we've got to get parents back included.
Okay, shut up, bozo.
Time on this DEI and CRT and instead focus on
nobody likes acronyms, bozo.
Digital literacy and on
oh, they're
making
clapping.
Sure
They love the
kids know what
acronyms.
they
Holy
need to do
shit.
to have the jobs of the next generation.
On the subject of education,
She said the acronyms.
For Governor Christie, students in your state are getting high marks on their report cards, but minorities are not doing well with math and reading.
Yes.
Black and Hispanic students averaging 29 points lower.
Well, these questions are nuts.
In New Jersey, would you address minorities first?
You have to address all students. And look,
all lives matter. Boo!
Frankly, before I was governor, that gap was close to 50%. And what we did was institute more charter schools and more Renaissance schools and more public school choice in New Jersey.
Based public school choice.
Solutions in cities like Camden, where now we took what was the worst school district in America during my time, and we have now increased that by nearly 40% in terms of their proficiency. It can be done when you give people choice. But let's tell the truth to everybody.
And funding.
This public school system is no longer run by the public. It is run by the teachers' unions in this country.
Okay.
Wendy Weingarten and her crew are absolutely strangling. They are taking the worst of their members and defending them rather than advocating for our kids. And when you have the President of the United States sleeping with a member of the teachers union, there is no chance.
That's so weird.
Stranglehold away from the teachers
because his
union
wife
every
is a
day.
teacher.
They have an advocate inside the White House every day.
What the fuck? So like the Bidens are so poor.
Oh my
Joe
God.
Listen, Joe Biden is so poor that his wife literally has to work. And she cares about working, that she doesn't want to go do the first lady job. She has no interest. She's been working this whole time as a teacher. She's the first lady to do that. That's a real first lady, a working lady, you know? That's the real American. Is the working American. Because that's what we only care about is labor and doing labor and more labor. But that is a weird thing to say.
It is weird.
I would have just said, don't forget that Joe Biden, Jill Biden, just say, Jill Biden, don't put the doctor in front of her name because that would be funnier for not saying doctor because it will trigger the libs,
Yeah.
She say she thinks she's a doctor, or something like that.
There's so much you could say.
Yeah, just not that. That is the worst thing you could say.
Worst of their teachers, not for our students to be the best they can be. A President of the United States has to take on the teachers union. I did it in New Jersey, and I will do it as President of the United States.
Governor DeSantis, I have a question for you. Governor DeSantis, I have a question for you. Florida's new Black History curriculum says,
Did you hear Tim Scott?
Slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. You have said slaves develop skills in spite of slavery, not because of it. But many are still hurt. For descendants of slaves, this is personal. What is your message to them?
So first of all, that's a hoax that was perpetrated by Kamala Harris. We are
What?
not going to be doing that. Second of all,
Tim Scott is not going to let this slide. Tim Scott, the thing is that we're now seeing identities slip into the GOP, and Tim Scott knows that he's not going to let this go. And he shouldn't either.
that was written by descendants of slaves. These are great Black history scholars, so we need to stop playing these games. Here's the deal. Our country's education system is in decline because it's
They better
focused on
follow up Tim Scott on this.
denying parents' rights. Florida represents the revival.
He's
of
got to
American
open himself
education.
up for the
We're ranked
layup, though,
number
for
one in
them.
the nation in education
And he probably
by
won't.
US News and World Report. My wife and I, we have a 6, 5, and 3-year-old. This is personal to us. We didn't just talk about universal school choice. We enacted universal school choice.
The question was about slavery.
We enacted the Parents' Bill of Rights. We
How did he
eliminated
get
critical
there?
race theory, and we now have American citizens in
Ron,
the Constitution.
you said
in our
slavery had benefits.
just like
That was the
Reagan
question.
asked for in his farewell address back in 1989.
Okay.
Florida is showing how it's done. We're standing with parents, and our kids are benefiting.
Yes.
What is your message?
Tim Scott, Tim Scott, Tim Scott, Tim Scott.
There is not
I'm hyped for Tim Scott. What is happening?
equality in slavery. He
Yes,
and Kamala
Tim.
should have just taken
Hang on. I want to hear this.
There is not.
Standing with parents.
Why I'm rewinding for Tim Scott.
What is happening?
What is your message for Governor DeSantis?
There is not a redeeming quality in slavery. He and Kamala should have just taken the one sentence out. America has suffered because of slavery, but we've overcome that. We are
Good.
the greatest nation on earth.
Good transition.
Because we faced our demons in the mirror and made a decision. So often we think that all the issues, you talked about crime and education and healthcare, we always think that those issues go back to slavery. Here's the challenge though.
Ooh, that's a CRT swing. Covert CRT swing.
Literacy tests. We survived discrimination being woven into the laws of our country. What was hard to survive was Johnson's Great Society, where they decided to put money, where they decided to take the black father out of the household to get a check in the mail, and you can now measure that in unemployment, in crime, in devastation. If you want to restore
Black
hope,
fathers.
you've got to restore the family, restore
It's not.
capitalism, and put.
That's an interesting swing. So it's like, oh yeah, it's like it's not because of slavery. It's because we took fathers out of the home. So then you hit on the family thing, and you hit in a stereotype that all the racists who are watching this are going to resonate with.
Yep.
And also, he's personally affected by this, being somebody who was raised by a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
So so far for me, Tim Scott is way ahead of everyone else in this debate, which is so wild.
That's very strange.
But obviously, nobody is going to agree with us because they're already set up and.
Continues to go in the right direction. It's why
I agree under Joe Biden.
Been discriminated against, but America is not a racist country. Never ever.
True.
doubt
It
who
technically
we are.
is true.
We are the greatest country on God's green earth, and frankly,
it is a racist country, but all countries are racist.
Yeah, exactly. There are much more racist countries.
Mr. Ramaswamy. Over 10.7 million students in over 18,000 public schools nationwide have the ability to change their identity without parental notification. Governor Christie told Stewart last week that he would pass a federal law to protect parental rights. Would you try to do the same?
I have to be very clear about this.
We're going to kill transgenders.
Especially in kids, is a mental health disorder. We have to acknowledge the truth of that for what it is. I met 2 young women early in this campaign.
On parental rights in school.
Parents have the right to know. And you know what the hypocrisy of this is? Even New Hampshire failed to actually get past a piece of legislation here. The very people who say that this increases the risk of suicide are also the ones saying that parents have the right to know about the increased risk of suicide. And I'm sorry, it is not compassionate to affirm a kid's confusion. That is not compassion, that is cruelty. I met 2 young women, Chloe and Katie, early in this campaign, who are in their 20s, now regret getting double mastectomies and a hysterectomy. One of them will never have children. And the fact that we allowed that to happen in this country is barbaric. So I will ban genital mutilation or chemical castration under the age of 18, and parents have absolutely the right.
Would you try to pass a federal law that says parents should have that right?
We're going to require states absolutely.
Tim Scott. Tim Scott.
In your state, you do not have a law that says parents
We have
should be
a name
notified.
for
But you want to be
fantasy
president.
realized. It's called
Would you try to pass a federal
nightmare.
law to say parents have that right?
I think this is a state's issue, but I do want to say something.
Get off the stage,
All night long
Nightmare
we've been
Man.
talking about issues
Boo.
about how it's broken in Washington, and I respect all of the people on the stage here for their 100+ years of public service. Thank you. But the reason why we're not talking
you
about
calling them old?
education or healthcare or safety being a problem in North Dakota is because we have a business leader. I've got more experience as a business leader than I think this whole group combined. I know I've created more jobs than everybody else on stage, thousands of high-paying jobs.
Don't you have oil?
So as a business leader, you
Didn't they just like find oil there or something?
So in North Dakota, instead of fighting with the teachers' unions, we actually created a K-12 coordinating council. Everybody gets in the room, and the customer is the student.
But you do understand that this is an issue that many people in America really are concerned about, worried about parents and notification in schools.
Yes, and that's why we have 50 platforms of innovation. That's why we have states. There are certain things the federal government is supposed to do.
Nice.
It's not the Department of Education. That needs to be assembled. We got to move it back to states. Do what we did in North Dakota. Instead of like, oh, here's a choice school and here's an old school, the old way with the teachers union, the kids are trapped. We made every school in North Dakota an innovation school. Every school got out from under the red tape, and the things that help teach the values that we're trying to get, like 4-H, like FFA, like Boy Scouts, they can get credit for all of that stuff in North Dakota. And by the way, North Dakota is now at the
They get credit for. That's awesome. They get school credit for doing fucking summer camp and Boy Scouts. That's fucking awesome. That is a really good policy.
in the country right now.
You know how much that's gonna like help like if we had that, especially in like inner city, and they actually like and they made, because sometimes you have to pay for this stuff, but like you know, especially if it went in and it enrolled in the public option and stuff, and that would be like basically free credit to like, you know, go out and like be in the woods for a while.
Yeah, and actually like get your hands dirty and learn hands-on. It's a good idea.
Well, it's also like one of the things about these camps is that you're gonna have like the diversity that you have at these camps is not something that you get in the regular school system. So that's what's interesting about it, is that it exposes them to a lot, and like also like kids have a lot of awakenings at camp. You know, they find like their first crush, things like that. You know, and it'll bring back those great camp movies that we all had as kids, because those movies are great, and then including the horror ones where they murder all the teenagers.
The Department of Homeland Security warns that violence against LGBTQ+ people.
Oh my God, these questions, bro.
According to a recent study, members of that community are
they're asking this guy about gay people.
Hate crimes. As president, how would you protect this community from violent attacks and discrimination?
We have to keep our country gay.
I'll stand up for the safety and the civil liberties of every American, from every background. And I want the American people to know that. But I want to answer the question as well, Dana, that you just asked Doug Burke. Because by way of full disclosure, Chris,
don't let him
mention the president's
tell
situation.
him we don't care. We didn't ask you that question.
My wife isn't a member of the teachers union, but I got to admit, I've been sleeping with a teacher for 38 years. And the full disclosure,
weird. You made it weirder.
Education is a state and local function. The state of Indiana had one of the very first school choice programs in the country. And when I was governor of the state of Indiana, we doubled it. And as to your question, Dana, let's be very, very clear. When the Linn-Mar Community Schools in Iowa had a policy where you had to have a permission slip from your parents to get a Tylenol, but you could get a gender transition plan without notifying your parents.
Oh, come on.
I weighed in with a foundation. That's not
You
bad
must have known
policy.
you were
That's
wrong when your
crazy.
fingers were
We're
dipped
gonna stand
inside
up for
me.
the rights of parents, and we're going to pass a federal ban on transgender chemical or surgical surgery anywhere in the country. We've got to protect our kids from this radical gender.
Did he say an age for that, or just in general?
Ideology agenda on I weighed in, had a policy where you had to have a permission slip from your parents to get a Tylenol, but you could get a gender transition plan without notifying your parents. I weighed in with a foundation. That's not bad policy. That's crazy. We're going to stand up for the rights of parents, and we're going to pass a federal ban on transgender chemical or surgical surgery anywhere in the country. We've got to protect our kids from this radical gender ideology agenda, and we've got to empower parents at the state level with the ability to choose where their kids go to school, whether it's public,
Okay,
private, parochial, or homeschool.
Go back to the part about the genocide, though.
Our schools will straighten up and reflect our values and focus on the basics faster than you could possibly
Genocide, though.
Next subject.
Can I just say one thing?
China is.
I also support genociding trans people.
Everybody, we lose time. China is investing heavily.
I want this guy to be like, "Oh, shut the fuck up."
$280 billion every year on semiconductor research.
Yes.
That is one.
These are the questions I want to hear.
These are great questions.
You say companies like Google and Meta have too much power.
True.
Going after them, give China an edge.
Ron, here's how to give a based answer, Ron. Okay? You're going to say Facebook, and we've seen the Twitter files, they're censoring Americans. Meanwhile, Meta is on the hook for facilitating genocide in Myanmar. You know, Myanmar, the country has now been destabilized by a military coup. That's on these companies. They caused that. And we can't have big tech screwing over entire nations out there. And then you talk about how Elon Musk has the power to shut off Starlink satellite. Oh, wait, he hates Ukraine. Never mind. He won't go there.
No, I think you look at how our societies develop. They have huge amount of power over our society. They've cracked down on free speech. We're not saying you don't want them to do business, but you want it to be a free market.
Now the genocide
right
part.
Now they're monopolies. But this issue of China, I think, is really going to be fundamental. We have
no genocide.
contracted out so much of our national needs.
Talk about the Uyghur genocide and shit on Vivek.
We rely on them for a whole host of issues. We need to reshore and we need to decouple all those important industries.
Base Joe Biden policy.
We need to get that back in the United States. They are our top geopolitical adversary.
So that's why we side with the auto union.
Xi Jinping's got huge ambitions,
okay.
Not only in the Asia Pacific, but as you mentioned earlier, in our region.
And Africa.
But ultimately, we've got to beat them on the economy. And so
we
that's
are.
what we'll do as president of the
Their
United
economy's collapsed.
Governor Christie,
then what economy? It's only a matter of time before they find out it's gone.
To a robot. And you said in the past that the free market is the way to go. Would you retrain workers who lose a job to artificial intelligence, and to do what?
What is this question? Boom!
What I think artificial intelligence offers us is an extraordinary opportunity to expand well beyond the productivity that we have now, and to have Americans be able to be involved in that revolution, Dana. You know, each time we have shown incredible.
What was that about the fourth industrial revolution? Conspiracy theory alert! I'm scared. He's gonna make me eat bugs.
Opportunities for folks. Yes, we have to do retraining for folks who lose some of their jobs, and we should be doing that. And we should have more training available both at the county college level and the local level for people to be able to access it. So yes, I would be in favor of that.
The community college around here has a fucking nuclear science program start, so you can get 2 years at a nuclear science degree at a community college. Because they're all because like the New York colleges, not so like the university is separate from this, but there's like different community colleges, and they're all linked together to be on the same like education standard and credentials. And so like they also transfer between each other. So like it's easy to transfer between these schools as well. Like it's the school system is set up really good to like stay in state and keep that when you keep college kids in the state, you keep the people that are coming up in age inside your workforce. So
that. But this is a much bigger issue than that. We can't be afraid of innovation. America has been the great innovator of this world over the last 250 years. A technological innovator, a manufacturing innovator, and a freedom and governmental innovator.
That's the most true part right there.
America has to continue to stand strong in the world, pro-innovation, pro-progress. And I will say this.
Marxism, progressive candidate.
Is to make sure that every innovator in this country gets the government the hell off its back and out of its pocket so that it can innovate and bring great new inventions.
Technocracy, cyberpunk, let's go. I'm all about it. I love cyberpunk. That's my favorite dystopian future.
TikTok is
yes.
On government-issued devices because of its
Twitter is now more unsafe than TikTok.
Yet you joined TikTok after dinner with boxer and influencer.
Oh my God!
Paul. Should the commander-in-chief be so easy in his government? Yet you joined TikTok after dinner with boxer and influencer Jake Paul. Should the commander-in-chief be so easily persuaded by an influencer?
So the answer is I have a radical idea for the Republican Party. We need to win elections. And part of how we win elections is reaching the next generation of young Americans.
But you want to ban them from voting.
Office, I've been very clear. Kids under the age of 16 should not be using addictive social media. We're only going to ever get to declaring independence from China, which I favor, if we actually win. So while the Democrats are running rampant, reaching the next generation 3-1, there's exactly one person.
Do you understand the foreign policy that's going on in the Pacific?
People, and that's me. And let me level
I'm
with
gonna
all of
say
you. I'm the
no.
new guy here, and so I know I have to earn your trust. What
I
do you
don't
see?
trust
You
you.
see a young man who's in a bit of a hurry, maybe a little ambitious, bit of a know-it-all, it seems at times. I'm here to tell you, no, I don't know it all.
Nikki Haley
I will listen.
laughing at him.
I will have the best people, the best and brightest in this country, whatever
Trump
age
said the
they
same
are,
thing. Boo, heard it
advising me.
before.
We will be probably many of the people on this stage included. That's how I built my companies. I want to be challenged. I want people who disagree with me. That's what makes America great, because we're not a perfect nation. We're founded on the pursuit of perfection.
Yes.
That's what makes America great.
Mike Pence.
And that is why we will end it once we win this election.
I have to jump. I have to jump in here. I'm sorry. I have.
was speaking.
There's one person on this.
This is infuriating because TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have.
You hear the mic? They shut his mic down and turned hers up. They let her in and they cut him out. They're like, no, shut up, bozo. Nobody likes you. Nikki Haley time.
And what you've got, I honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say. Because I can't believe that here you've got a TikTok situation. What they're doing is these 150 million people are on TikTok. That means they can get your contacts, they can get your financial information, they can get your emails, they can get text messages, they can get all of these things.
This is very important for our
Twitter is worse now, though.
And what we've seen is you've gone and you've helped China build, make medicines in China, not America. You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us. You went and you were in business with the Chinese that gave Hunter Biden $5 million. We can't
Get him,
trust
Nikki.
you. We can't trust you.
Get him, Nikki.
TikTok and
I think that
we need to ban.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 15 seconds.
I think, excuse me.
No, take his time.
You have 15 seconds,
Get him.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Thank you. I think we would be better served as a Republican Party if we're not sitting here hurling personal insults and actually have a legitimate debate about policy.
Boo! They rip them apart. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Boo!
So long, Bowser. Actually makes our country strong, and I believe in these people. These are good people on the stage. They disagree, but let's have a legitimate disagreement. That's what I would say.
Stuart, can we get back to the question? The
No, we
question is
cannot.
on technology.
Governor DeSantis,
There's
I'm
one
going
person
straight
on this stage
Sir,
that has a
we
career in
will have to
technology.
cut your mic, and I don't want to do that. I don't. So, Governor DeSantis, let me go to you. Experts say President Putin has ordered assassinations across Europe, cheated on arms control treaties with the U.S., and seeks to work with China to force our
It
decline.
would be constitutional
President
for the
Reagan
government
believed that if you
to
want
target
to
and kill
prevent a
any
war,
U.S.
you
citizen
better be prepared
with a
to
drone
fight one.
or with a shotgun
Today, the Republican
without due
Party
process.
is at odds over aid to Ukraine. The price tag so far is $76 billion. But is it in our best interest to degrade Russia's military for less than 5% of what we pay annually on defense, especially when there are no U.S. soldiers in the fight?
It's in our interest.
She did the 5% thing. Ukraine gave this debate money to keep these fucking neocons out. definitely interest in Ukraine. I've definitely invested because she brought up that 5% thing.
I will do as president. We are not going to have a blank check. We will not have U.S. troops, and we're going to make the Europeans do what they need to do. But they've sent money to pay
start another world war. Those Europeans
and salaries and funding small businesses halfway around the world. Meanwhile, our own country is being invaded. We don't even have control of our own territory.
Okay, we got to stop answering questions however we feel like. It just shows, you know what this shows? And it's unfortunate that Americans are too stupid to realize this. That shows he doesn't know the question. He doesn't know how to answer the question. He doesn't have policy. You know who's going to have policy on this? Nikki Haley.
don't care.
Mike
about
Pence
the
too,
American people.
and Chris
They
Christie
don't
probably
care
would.
About the fentanyl
You have a good
deaths.
answer.
They don't care about the communities being overrun because of this border. They don't care about the Mexican drug cartels. So as Commander-in-Chief, I will defend this country's sovereignty.
By torturing.
It's not a territorial dispute. It's never been a territorial
Yes, Nikki.
And 90% of the resources that we send over to Ukraine is guaranteed as a loan. It is not 90%
Correct.
of the money that we send over there is loan. Well, we can talk about this, but at the end of the day, 90% of the money that we send over there is actually in the form of a loan. It's not actually not be paid by Ukraine. It's paid by the NATO or NATO allies.
So I think it's a good topic.
I think it's a really good topic too. but I will
Nice
say
that he
let's
cut him
stop this
off.
debate.
It's not even being paid by Ukraine. It's being paid by NATO. Go fuck yourself.
The fact that
Right. He should have also followed up. He should follow up with. Remember how Trump said he was going to keep NATO on the line? Well, if we keep them on, this is how we keep them on the line. We use the weapons.
That
They
would be
pay
a good
for
talking
them.
point. That
Yeah.
would be a good talking point.
national vital interest is in degrading the Russian military.
True.
By degrading the Russian military, we actually keep
Bump
our
to Nikki after
homeland
this.
safer, we keep our troops at home, and we all understand Article 5 of NATO.
We have
When
to
in
level
fact-
with the American people. on
I
this.
thought you said something about waiting until your turn to talk. So,
think
hold
this
on.
is a
So at the end of the day,
Will you
I'm
be
going to
able to
finish my. I'll be happy to
Go
debate
ahead
on
and
this.
I'll respond.
I'll look forward to this one right now. So at the end of the day, when you think about the fact that
Most
you want to
improved,
keep
for sure.
American troops at home, the attack on NATO territory would bring us and our troops in. By degrading the Russian military, we reduce, if not eliminate, an attack on
If I may
NATO territory.
finish that exchange, we have to level with the American people. We have to level with the American people on this issue.
Everyone
The
wants to talk
reality
about
is
Ukraine,
this.
and they're
Just
letting
because
this
Putin
bozo
is not
talk.
Putin's an evil dictator does not mean that Ukraine is good. This is a country that
Oh
has
my
banned
God.
Nobody
electronic
said that.
parties.
A win
That has
for
actually-
Russia is a
that
win
is not
for
true.
China.
Nikki Haley is quoting that ad that I told you about. That I said that they're investing in. That is literally a quote from the ad.
That's
They accept
funny.
it's a different thing. It's a loss for Russia. It's a loss for China.
Mhm.
Right? They're definitely pushing this. They're getting this Ukraine nonsense out of there, making sure that it's going to be supported on the main candidates.
Chance in just a moment. The hurling personal insults isn't helping.
Shut up,
China is the
idiot.
real enemy, and we're driving
Did she insult him? I
Russia
want to
further
hear
into
it.
China's arms. Excuse me, Nikki, you'll have
But
a
I
chance.
forgot, you like
You'll
China.
have-
That's
no,
why you're
you'll
okay.
have your chance.
That's
in
not
just
an
a moment.
insult.
The hurling personal insults isn't helping. China is the real enemy, and we're driving Russia further into China's arms. We need a reasonable peace plan to end this, especially this is a
Okay.
country whose president just last week
Vivek,
was
if you
hailing a
let
Nazi in
Putin
his own
have
ranks.
Ukraine, that's a green light to China to take Taiwan.
We need
Yes.
a reasonable plan.
Even though they couldn't, they can't. Their economy is, they're done.
Governor Christie.
The Communist Party of China.
No, Nikki, go to Nikki. Let Nikki talk about Ukraine.
Christie, President Biden's first 2 years have brought China, Russia, and Iran closer together.
Good. That's a
Are
good
we focused
question.
Too much on Ukraine and not enough on this threat.
You
from
better
the
give
new
Nikki
world
Haley a
order.
fucking foreign policy question.
Stuart.
Dude, yeah, I'm actually kind of bummed because Nikki Haley would talk about the Iranians in this as
Yeah,
well.
she would,
You know,
yeah.
because she's a Zionist, she would specifically point out Iran and focus on Iran and be and make it her point that she's the only one focusing on Iran. Well, these two are only caring about China
It would
and
be a
Russia.
good point to make, yeah.
No, I'm clicking play on the wrong screen.
They're all connected.
Good one.
They're all
Chinese are
connected.
paying for the Russian war in Ukraine. The Iranians are supplying more sophisticated weapons, and so are the North Koreans now as well, with the encouragement of the Chinese. The naivete on this stage from some of these folks is extraordinary. Look, I understand
Vivek.
people want to go and talk to Putin. Guess what? So did George W. Bush. So did Barack Obama. So did Donald Trump. And so did Joe Biden when he said a small invasion wouldn't be so bad. Every one of them has been wrong. And the fact of the matter is,
True.
we need to say right now that the Chinese-Russian alliance is something we have to fight against.
And Iran.
And we
And
are
Iran.
not going to solve it by going over and cuddling up to Vladimir Putin. Look, Donald Trump.
Yes,
said
Nikki, let Nikki
Vladimir
in.
Putin was brilliant and a great leader. This is the person who is murdering people in his own country, and now not having enough blood, he's now going to Ukraine to murder innocent civilians.
Say genocide.
Kidnap 20,000 children.
Close.
And let me tell you, if you think
Say that's
where it's gonna
genocide.
stop, if we give him any of Ukraine, Next will be Poland. This is a guy who said,
come on, he was so
this is a guy in
close.
1991 who said that was the darkest moment in world history when the Soviet Union fell.
Nice.
Listen,
True.
everybody.
True.
He wants to put the old band back together, and only America can stop it. And when I'm president, we will.
Governor Burgum, I want
No,
to get to
come
Governor
on, no, Nikki, Nikki.
I think you're going to really
You
like.
better fucking give
Or at
Nikki
least you
Haley a
have
foreign policy
experience in
question,
it.
you
And
fuckers.
we need to talk about America's farmers because there is a policy connection here. The U.S. and China are in this fierce
I don't care
economic
again.
competition. It's hurting American businesses, and there is blowback against American farmers because China then targets them in retaliation. How would you, as president, protect American farmers and ranchers from that kind of retaliation from a foreign government like China?
Well, first of all, we've got the best farmers and ranchers in the world right here in America.
Yeah, the
If they have
Mexicans.
a level playing field, they can outcompete anyone in the world. But this is part of the larger issue that we're talking about here, which is we're in a Cold War with China. The Biden administration with that, but we're also in a economic war through what we're doing with agriculture and energy, and we're also in a war with them relative to cyber war. We get attacked every day in North Dakota, every state, every school district, our tribes, all being attacked every day by either China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea. And now we've got a Biden administration.
He said
whose
Iran.
policy is appeasement. They're out there,
They
creating
all
the
have
world,
so
making it
far.
less safe. $6 billion they traded for 5 people. They've just now set a price on anyone.
Holy
who's a
shit!
Tourist from America.
He brought up the
Man.
prisoner exchange. Wow. What a fucking curveball. That's wild.
I did not see that coming.
That was the most unexpected moment of the debate for me.
That is not the person I expected to be talking about that.
I hope if he can finish this off by saying that the people that Biden exchanged were stealing nuclear secrets from the United States, that would hit hard. Because nobody is doing that. None of these conservatards are.
For kidnapping, if you want more kidnapping, put a price on it. And then they're also helping Iran get to have more closer to nuclear weapons.
Yes!
Which pushes all of the Middle East
Yes!
to China and Russia. The whole thing is absurd.
Amazing.
And then, of course, we're going to give
He didn't
Ukraine
say
to Russia,
specifically,
and then we're
though,
gonna
that
give
these guys...
Taiwan to China and think that's a foreign policy. That will make our nation less successful, make us more poor. And at the core of all that is energy policy, because China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day. They're the largest import in the world. And we've had 4 cabinet members from the Biden administration there this summer, and none of them talked about U.S. energy. The first one to go to each of those countries was Kerry to talk about the folly of the climate policy, which is making the world less stable. It's empowering dictators. It's not about climate change that we need worried about. It's about the Biden climate policy.
No. That's that's the opposite of true now.
Thank you.
Can I speak about
No.
Mexico's president called who supports
Come on.
sending U.S. military into the country.
No Ukraine question for Haley.
Scoundrels. Mexico is the United States' most important trade partner and border security. You say you will send special operations to attack the cartels in Mexico. So, this means boots on the ground, drone strikes.
It means special operations. It's how we deal with our terrorists. And what you need to do is understand that
Predator
Mexico's
drones.
not being a good partner.
You will never see it coming.
Last year. Mexico's not being a good partner if they're letting the cartels get away with what they're getting away with. What we will do is we will make sure that we send in our special operations, and we will take out the cartels, we'll take out their operations, we'll take out anything that's doing it. But we're going to go after China, because China is the one sending the fentanyl in the first place. And we will end all normal trade relations until China stops sending fentanyl. And then
This is what I was saying. This is the type of
good.
shit. We're gonna block it. We're not gonna protect their ships anymore. Say that. That would be so crazy.
we'll do the special operations, and we'll get it from both sides. This is where President Trump went wrong.
You know, and if she did that, she could shift to how Iranians are hijacking ships. So we should be protecting these ships, and that's why we had to deploy 8,000 troops to the Persian Gulf. And nobody's doing anything about this. China's not helping people from getting hijacked. It's only the U.S.
He focused on trade with China. He didn't focus on the fact that they were buying up our farmland. He didn't focus on the fact that they were killing Americans. He didn't focus on the fact that they were stealing $600 billion in intellectual property. He didn't focus on the fact that they put a spy base off our shores in Cuba. They didn't focus enough on the fact that all of our law enforcement drones
the IRGC's in
America
Mexico.
are Chinese, and we've got all these
The IRGC's in our government.
We need to
The
start
IRGC's
focusing
also
on
in
what
Canada.
keeps Americans safe. That hasn't happened in a long time. As your president, I will make sure sure every American is safe, and we'll do whatever it takes to make that happen.
All right.
It wasn't bad.
Senator Scott.
I want more anti-Iran rhetoric. I want this neocon up.
You're all auditioning for the job as President of the United States. You want to earn these votes. But the world's problems land in the Oval Office. During the presidential debates in the year 2000, neither Al Gore nor George W. Bush was asked about al-Qaeda. Yet, just 1 year later, al-Qaeda's attack on September 11th claimed nearly 3,000 lives. And the farther...
They're coming back. They're winning me back. We're talking about al-Qaeda now?
Listen, I am the most al-Qaeda one here.
I'm all about it.
we get from September 11th, the closer we are to September 10th.
Ladies
Senator
and
Scott,
gentlemen,
you have no
we are
executive
all
branch
domestic
experience.
terrorists.
What has prepared you to protect the nation from a major man-made national security crisis?
One of the things I've had the good fortune of doing is serving on committees in the United States
Ask Ron DeSantis what he's done.
Senate, like the Senate Armed Services Committee. I'm on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, also on the Finance Committee and the Banking Committee.
Whoa! Whoa! Tim Scott is that powerful? Did you hear that? He's banking and finance and foreign relations. Those are the most powerful committees. I didn't hear the fourth one he said.
National security crisis.
One of the things I've had the good fortune of doing is serving on committees in the United States Senate, like the Senate Armed Services Committee. I'm on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
Okay, so the first one he's not on anymore. I think that's what he's implying.
Also on the Finance Committee and the Banking Committee. Talk about addressing the issue of fentanyl. I've written the legislation, passed it through the Banking Committee and the Senate that would freeze the assets and sanction the accounts of the Mexican cartels.
Yeah, we should.
That we have within the arsenal that
we should also freeze the IRGC accounts in Chase. Chase Bank. Take Chase Bank out completely.
I've also understood without question the fact that if you look at the details before 9/11, there was information and intelligence that was available.
Correct.
That suggested an attack was coming.
Correct.
Having the right intelligence partners with us is key to making sure that we prevent the next 9/11 from ever happening. Having that experience for the last 10 years is really important in getting the job done.
30 seconds to you, Mr. Pence.
Well, I think you asked a question about executive experience. I think it's vitally important. And I stand before you today as a candidate for president because I think this country's in a lot of trouble. And you hear the fire on the stage tonight. You hear the fire in all of our voices. And it's because Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. This is a time...
It's stronger than ever abroad, dude.
Those of us that have the experience, the tested experience, and a commitment to the conservative agenda that Ronald Reagan brought forward in this party of a strong national defense, standing with our allies, standing up to our enemies.
You were an admin that wanted to defund NATO.
Our party does face a time.
You can't Reagan yourself out of this.
Debate. Whether we're going to stand on the foundation of that conservative
Nikki Haley,
agenda
foreign
that Ronald
policy
Reagan
question.
poured,
Come on.
Or whether we're going to follow the siren song of populism unmoored to conservative principles. I'm the most experienced, most qualified, and most consistent conservative in this field, and I'm ready to lead America at home and abroad on day one.
Time for choosing to go to a break. Ilya.
We need to go to a commercial break. Reagan built a coalition that lasted decades. Can any of these candidates do the same? We'll take that up.
Reagan, we're trying to get rid. That coalition is going to die this election. It is over.
Welcome back to the Republican primary debate here at the Reagan Library. We've got a lot more issues to cover and a lot more questions to go. So let's dive right back in. We're here in California, where gas is nearing $6 a gallon. Oil is close to $100 a barrel again. You say, drill, baby, drill. But the courts won't let you. Mr. Ramaswamy, how would you bring down prices without immediate drilling?
Well, look, I think that we do have to run through the courts and
the answer is
administrative state to make
refining.
Sure we're using the natural resources here at home. But here's the other thing that we can do that's easy.
It would take forever, Mr. Ramaswamy.
And it addresses the national debt as well as brings down prices. Put people back to work. We are using taxpayer money to pay people more to stay at home than to go to work. That is wrong. That contributes to our supply chain crisis. It contributes to inflation. That's the easiest way to unlock this economy. And here's the other thing. We have to put the Federal Reserve back in its place. This is an agency that has gone rogue. So in January 2026, when I have the opportunity as your next commander-in-chief, we will have a new chairman of the Federal Reserve who places priority on dollar stability. And then most importantly,
okay, we have the most stable dollar.
Of the administrative state. Reduce the federal employee headcount by 75%. Rescind 50% of unconstitutional federal regulations that are shackling businesses, both large and small. I've offered a very clear, practical plan to do it. That's how we unleash the economy. That's how we revive the integrity of a three-branch constitutional republic rather than this technocracy and aristocracy in the administrative state.
Response, please.
I think one of the signature accomplishments of our administration was in just a few short years, we achieved energy independence. We became a net exporter of energy for the first time in 75 years. But on day one, Joe Biden declared a war on energy, which was no surprise because when Joe Biden ran for president, he said he was going to end fossil fuels.
No.
We've been working overtime to do that ever since. If I'm president of the United States, we're going to
We're still energy independent, Mike.
We're going to unleash American energy. We're going to have an all-of-the-above energy strategy. And I have a plan that actually would not only
still supporting
reclaim
green energy. Okay, Joe Biden policy.
In 2006, America lost our position as the leading energy producer on Earth. I believe in the next 10 years, with the right policies and experienced leadership in the White House, we can reclaim our role as the leading energy producer on Earth, and that'll grow the American economy for generations to come.
Governor Haley, reaction to that, please.
The only person who's leading an energy state. Could I answer the energy question?
No, Governor Haley.
He is. I told you. That's why their economy is good. Energy. I told you they had oil.
Energy security is national security. We need a president that understands we have to partner with our producers and make sure that we have their backs.
OPEC.
What you don't need is a president who is against energy independence. Ron DeSantis is against fracking. He's against drilling. He's been against. You did it. He always talks about what happens on day one. You better watch out, because what happens on day two is when you're in trouble. Day two in Florida, you banned fracking, you banned offshore drilling, you did it on federal lands, and you took green subsidies that you didn't have to take.
Governor DeSantis, you were mentioned. You have to respond. 30 seconds.
Yeah. I just did a plan out in West Texas for American energy dominance. We're going to choose Midland over Moscow. We're going to choose the Marcellus over the Mullahs, and we're going to choose Bakken over Beijing, and we are going to lower your gas prices. We are going to get that job done because it's important for our national security.
That was a good
it's
prep
important
to
for
lunch.
jobs, and that's one of the best ways
He practiced that one in the mirror.
Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis, this question is for you.
Our voters enacted a constitutional amendment.
You banned it before they voted.
No, it's not true.
You banned it before they voted, and not only that, fracking wasn't. They didn't vote on fracking.
She's totally wrong. They voted it in. That's what we did. Onshore, we do it in Florida. We don't have as much as maybe West Texas.
That's not what she asked. So you did ban it offshore.
Let's just get real here. My plan will get the job done. We are going to be energy dominant, and that's what's going to happen.
And the voters didn't even vote on fracking. You banned fracking.
We are moving on with this question for Governor DeSantis. Governor?
No!
Excuse me. We cannot talk over each other. We must respect each other's time.
But don't give DeSantis a question.
I'm ready.
Governor DeSantis, this is your question.
Let them
The
fucking roast
administration
him.
is hell-bent on student loan forgiveness.
Awesome.
You
Good
say
question.
Colleges should be on the hook when graduates cannot pay their debt. How does that address the
That's kind of base.
I kind of agree.
of college itself?
Because the colleges are going to have to make a decision. Do we expand the gender studies department, knowing some of those graduates may not have great learning opportunities? No, they're going to focus on the things that really matter. They're going to make different choices. They're going to try to graduate people.
You're
in
so
careers.
weird.
I also just want to come back to something Dana asked last segment about 9/11, because I was just at the 9/11 memorial with the families. My wife and I. It was very touching to be there, and it affected my life. I ended up joining the military as a result of that.
Survivors of 9/11 came up to him and started yelling at him for using 9/11 as a political stunt for himself.
Hilarious.
There's video of it.
I've been a blue-collar kid.
You know, people who are there to mourn their loved ones at the memorial, and he's there to do a political ad. How do you think that felt?
Insane.
Imagine doing that shit. Imagine a German candidate doing that shit at like Auschwitz. You know,
Mm-hmm.
except Auschwitz would be in recent memory at the time. You know, like it would just seem so insane. Even though, 3,000 Americans. 3,000 Americans is nothing compared to Auschwitz, but we got to compare everything to Hitler.
Minimum wage in Dunedin, Florida. I end up getting through Yale and Harvard Law School and somehow came out more conservative than when I went in. And that is not easy to do.
It is in
Had a lot of
Yale.
opportunities to make money, but I wanted to serve. And I'll never forget coming back on the plane from Iraq, landing in Coronado, California, North Island, and feeling that breeze off the Pacific Ocean and say, you know what? I am lucky to have been born an American, and I think being able to serve, and I'll be the first president elected since 1988 who's actually served overseas in a war.
Okay.
I think that's going to help me as commander-in-chief to know.
Being a lawyer for JAG, specifically getting Navy SEALs out of war crimes.
I wonder whether he'll be the first one that's overseen torture.
No, because Bush did it. But like a JAG officer. I'm sorry, bro. You're not a veteran. I'm sorry. All you do is get people out of war crimes and commit them.
How you see these issues and understand that there are real lives at stake for people that wear the uniform.
And we know that Governor Haley's husband is serving right now as well, and we thank him for that. Senator Scott, the national debt has nearly doubled in your time in office. The approval rate for Congress is at a mere 19%. If this were a business, you'd probably all be fired in Washington, but you're here tonight looking for a promotion. In 2013, Governor Haley hired you.
That's a hilarious diss.
I'd like you to tell her.
Why do you think 20% of the country cares about Congress? Like, they're shutting it down. They don't do shit.
They don't.
Like, of course. Like, that's why governor, like, who wanted to get out of the Senate to go to governor? Somebody is. Maybe Matt Gaetz or one of those plotty motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But they want to go to, because governor is easier to get to the president because it's like a federal position than technically like a House representative stuff.
Why you should be promoted to CEO of the nation instead of her.
Certainly. One of the things I'd say is if you look at our national debt of $33 trillion, I would love to have an opportunity to have this country pass a balanced budget amendment. That would constrain the spending in Washington in the same fashion that it does in every state in our nation, number one. Number two, if you want to actually reduce our national debt, you have to grow our economy. In order to grow our economy, you need to create about 10 million jobs to grow our economy at 5%. You can do that in three specific sectors. Number one, the energy sector.
True.
Could create between
expanding green energy. Correct. Joe Biden's doing that.
If we unleash all of our energy resources, America is we're the richest country if you combine coal, gas, and oil. Why not unleash all of our resources? Number two, we've lost 100,000 factories. 100,000 factories in the last 25
nice
years.
Joe Biden policy.
If we
Good to
on
know.
our Made in America plan, we could bring jobs back to America in a similar fashion that we did when I wrote the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. We actually lowered the corporate tax from 35% to 20%.
The corporate tax, huh?
Corporate tax.
Not the best source.
Doesn't
We
happen.
brought the unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians to the lowest level in the history of the country, and a 70-year low for women.
Governor Haley, would you think you would deserve the promotion over him?
Look, I appreciate Tim. We've known each other a long time, but he's been there 12 years and he hasn't done any of that. He hasn't. They've only given 4 budgets on time in 40 years. He was part of that.
Yes.
He increased.
She's dissing him about the government shutdown. Because the budget's not going to be delivered on time to shut down the government.
The national debt, he voted for the spending.
You voted
he has
for
made sure that the
you
borders
actually
are open
asked
and
for
they
a
haven't done
gas
anything.
tax
Look at
increase
everything
in
that's
South
happened.
Carolina.
12 years. Where have you been? Where
I
have
voted
you
no
been,
on all.
Tim?
I voted on
12
most of
years.
those things.
We've waited
I have voted
and nothing has happened.
Here's what you've
12
done.
years.
Here's the thing that I
12
just find interesting.
Ron, let me finish this.
It's Nikki's question.
And I appreciate a lot of the things they're saying.
Nikki Haley.
Men
One up
talking
here
over a
who's
woman.
gotten in the
Typical.
big fights and has delivered big victories for the people of Florida. And
Shut up, Ron.
What do you mean? You mean when he backed out and cried to Disney to stop picking on you?
Are you going to be stand up for parents' rights?
Are you going to be stand
Are
up?
you going to be able to do all those things? And in the state of Florida, because of our success, the Democratic Party lies in ruins. We have won the big fights. We have turned our state into a Republican state. People respond to leadership. I've done it while others have talked about it.
CEO, we actually have a CEO in the White House, which is what I think we need. If I may just briefly interject here, we need a zero-based budgeting.
You didn't let Nikki answer, Tim. You don't get 30 seconds. Go fuck yourself.
Zero as the baseline for the budget, and then see what's actually necessary. There isn't a blue state or a red state in this
Hold up the
union
budget
that does it.
entirely.
The federal
Good
government
policy.
doesn't do it. But successful companies, including the ones that I've built as a CEO, will do it. And I think we need a CEO in the White House to get that done.
Governor Burgum runs a state that way.
Yeah,
Yes,
tech
go
questions,
ahead.
you didn't ask the only guy that's been in tech. You have energy questions, you don't ask anything. But I'm just going to say right now, when you say nobody else has done it, the energy plans that have all been announced in the last month by these other folks on stage, we're already doing it in North Dakota.
Based.
Border plans they're already talking about. We've got troops down at the border flying helicopter missions from North Dakota, from San Diego to the Gulf Coast, trying to stop transnational criminal organizations from inflicting the invasion and the mass casualties in our state. And on the energy policy, we're already doing it. It's not saying when nobody else done the big fights. North Dakota was leading the charge. We won the battle to get the Biden administration, who was ignoring the law. They were the first administration since Truman that wasn't holding the quarterly required lease sales, and we won that in federal court. WOTUS, we won that in federal court. We're fighting the Biden administration on 20 fronts. To say that nobody's fighting the big fights, just look at the record of what we're doing right now. Energy, economy, national security, have been talking about it since day one, and now finally good, we're having the conversation about it, but we've got the answer.
But nobody wanted your opinion on it, so.
This question's for you. Big government keeps getting bigger.
Just like you, Chris Christie.
Have been created by the government. Governor Burgum, you say you want to shrink the size of government. But it has been a century since any president has done that. Why would you be any different?
Well, because we've done it in North Dakota. When I took office, we shrunk the state budget general fund by 27%.
That's not shrinking government.
Office, and all the trains still running on
less
time.
funding does not shrink
the
the
leader that was actually there. Inside of every government job, there's 10 or 20% of mind-numbing, soul-sucking work that even the state and federal employees don't want to do, and you can engineer that work out of the job. That would free up right there 20% of 2 million civilian employees. And by the way, we've got 10 million jobs open. They'd have plenty to do, and they could be generating taxes instead of being paid by taxes. This is totally possible to do it if you have somebody that understands, because having worked in technology for 30 years, everything we had to do was to be better, faster, and cheaper the next day. That's what we can do in government. That's what we're doing in North Dakota.
All right. Governor DeSantis.
That was good.
That was good.
I want to ask you about something that I think is on a lot of Republicans' minds.
I still think he's bottom three, but Vivek is at the bottom and then DeSantis above him.
Abortion was on the
Which
ballot
is going to be the
6 states in
opposite of people who
2022.
watch this.
Republicans lost all of them. Next year, abortion will likely be on the ballot in
Oh,
Arizona.
what are you
That is a
doing?
must-win state. Governor DeSantis, how are you going to win over independent, pro-choice
about?
voters in Arizona?
He was
Same way
making a
we did in
weird
Florida.
smile
We won
thing.
the greatest Republican victory in a governor's race in the history of the state, over 1.5 million votes. We were winning places like Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach, that nobody thought was possible.
Thanks to Trump.
Because we were leading with purpose and conviction. I reject this idea that pro-lifers are to blame for midterm defeats.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
He's missing in action tonight. He's had a lot to say about that. He should be here explaining his comments to try to say that pro-life protections are somehow a terrible thing. I want him to look into the eyes and tell people who've been fighting this fight for a long time.
Look into the eyes?
My wife and
Okay,
I,
that's
earlier
another
today,
time
were
you
at the
haven't
bedside
spoke
of
English.
President Mrs. Reagan, and I noticed that there was a quote where it says, "Every single person has purpose and worth." We're better off when everybody counts. And I think we should stand for what we believe in. I think we should hold the Democrats accountable for their extremism, supporting abortion all the way up until the moment of birth. That is infanticide, and that is wrong.
Lie detected.
Governor Christie, do you think that Republicans...
Not now, Tim Scott.
Christie, do you think that Republicans can do that in Arizona if this referendum is on the ballot there?
Yeah, because I did it in New Jersey, Dana. You know, it's...
Then why are all these other states losing?
Well, because they don't have leaders in those states who are leading the fight the way it should be led. And in fact,
You were terrible in New Jersey,
the
though.
only blue state that's represented up here. This is where the fight is really tough for Republicans. And those are the states that we're going to have to try to win if we're going to win the White House back. And what we did was 14 times, Dana, in 8 years, I vetoed Planned Parenthood funding. 14 times. No one else gets it that much.
That's one of the things people hated about you.
No, because I believe in life, but I also believe in states' rights. And I think we fought hard against Roe versus Wade for decades to say that states should make these decisions. So we're going to have those fights in the states. But what you need is a leader who can talk to people and make them understand that if you're pro-life, you have to be pro-life for the entire life, not just the 9 months in the womb.
Nice.
And we talked a lot about fentanyl tonight, and we haven't spoken one moment about treatment. But
Nice.
we need to make sure that for the drug-addicted 16-year-old on the floor of the county lockup, her life is precious too. And we need to be providing treatment to cure this as a disease that it is. If you're pro-life, you got to be pro-life for the entire life.
Nice.
We start talking like that, they're going to do what I did in the blue state, which was get reelected with 61% of the vote and won 70% of independents and 51% of Latinos because I told them the truth from my heart.
Thank you.
Vice President Pence. The latest Univision poll
Nikki
found that
still didn't get a
73%
question,
of
though,
Latino
because
voters
No, she
somebody
hasn't.
wouldn't
the
stop
Republican
talking.
Party doesn't care about or is being hostile toward them, the Hispanic community. Only Governor DeSantis has translated his campaign into Spanish. How will you reach out to Latino voters?
Well, I promise you that we're going to continue to.
We're
build
going to
bridges
teach them
between
English, so then my
this
campaign doesn't have to be
I'm
translated.
incredibly proud of that tax cut and tax reform bill. I worked on Capitol Hill to help get that bill passed into law, the largest tax cut in American history.
Uh-oh.
We saw literally the lowest unemployment ever recorded for Hispanic Americans, the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans, 50-year low for women. So I think the President of the United States needs to be a champion for the American dream for every American. It begins with the unborn and the aged and the
It's pretty easy to claim those things when a lot of those people really didn't like have working rights and shit like that.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
firm. And it begins with every ethnic group in this country. And I promise you, if I'm President of the United States, I'll be a champion. I'll be a champion for the American dream, for Hispanic Americans, and for every American. So help me God.
Senator Scott, reaction?
There's no doubt that if you lead by example, it's the best way to get the job done. If you look at my office in the Senate, my chief of staff is the only Hispanic female chief of staff in the Senate.
Oh, now we're woke.
Because she was the best
Woke
highest
diversity
qualified
shit. Okay.
person we have. What we need are leaders who lead by example. And I will simply say, I would love to finish my conversation with Nikki as it relates to the job that needs to get done. Nikki offered a 10% gas tax increase in South Carolina. Talk about someone who has never seen a federal dollar she doesn't like. 10 cents on the gallon in South Carolina. As the UN ambassador, you literally put $50,000 on curtains and a $15 million subsidized location. Next.
You got bad information. First of all, I fought the gas tax in South Carolina multiple times against the establishment.
Just go to YouTube.
Against the establishment.
Just go to
and
YouTube
you want to know
and see
what
for
that
yourself.
10 cent was? When they wouldn't pass the gas tax, the establishment and the companies wanted me to do it so much that I said the only way I will
Here's
pass
what you
it
have to
if
do.
you will
All you
give
have
us
to do.
three.
All you
excuse
have
me,
to do is go
if you will
watch
give-
Nikki Haley on YouTube.
If you will give me 3 times the deduction in income tax, then I will look at your gas
So you
tax,
said
which
yes,
is why it didn't
you would
happen.
pass. Exactly, Ron.
Secondly, on the
Let her talk, you little bitch.
Secondly, on the curtains, do your
Yes.
homework, Tim, because Obama bought those curtains.
Did you
and
send them back?
It's in the press.
Did you send them back?
It's the State Department.
Did you send them back?
Did you send them back? You're the one that works in Congress.
Oh my gosh.
You did.
Curtains.
They were there before I even showed up at the residence. You are scrapping. You are scrapping.
I'm not scrapping.
Excuse me, please. You know I fought
Here's a fact. Here's a fact, though.
I cut taxes. I loaded up our
You wanted a gas tax increase, and then
Get him, Nikki. This is a mess. This is a mess. This is awesome.
Is it worse than the last one?
No, this is great.
No, I mean, is it messier than the last one?
No, yes, it is.
You don't make it messier.
And while Welcome back to
if
the
Trump
final
was
minutes.
here.
I'm going to go another hour, but we do only have a few minutes. And candidates,
I'd watch another hour of this, maybe.
you all stay in the race. Former President Donald Trump wins the nomination. None of you have indicated
He's an
that you're
insurrectionist.
I mean, we're here, like, you know, we're happy to debate, but I think that that's disrespectful to my fellow competitors.
Nobody wants to participate.
Let's do some questions. Let's talk about the future of the country.
Interesting.
I want to be clear
Let me ask you this.
if I may.
Let me ask you something. Then if you won't answer that question, let me ask you this one.
Yeah.
What is your mathematical path,
I've never seen that happen
Governor
before.
DeSantis, in order to try to beat President Trump, who has a commanding and enduring lead in this race?
So polls don't elect presidents. Voters elect presidents. Right. And we're going to take the case of the people. In
Mike Pence backed him up.
Do it in a state-by-state direction. And why? Because as Reagan said in his day, this is our time for choosing. We are not getting a mulligan on the 2024 election. Republicans have lost 3 straight elections in a row. We were
Skill
supposed to have
issue.
a red wave with inflation at 9%. It crashed and burned. Not in
You're good.
Florida, it didn't. We delivered it in Florida. And so we've got to choose right. We've got to win. And we need somebody that's going to be able to serve 2 terms. So in
Imagine this guy
January
explaining
2023,
how
we'll be
to
able
make
address
sure the
the nation
torture is
saying,
technically
we turned
legal.
the economy around, we secured the border, and we fended off the
What
threat
a
from
nightmare.
communist China. As your president, I
You
will
would have
get
wanted
that
to
job
torture
done.
him.
Governor Christie, I believe I did see you write something.
We have a name for fantasy realized. It's called
Governor Christie, I believe
nightmare.
I did see you write something on the card. Who
No.
was it?
No, but I'll certainly tell you.
Go.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, I think I've been the only one on this stage who's been clear about this. I vote Donald Trump off the island right now. And the reason I vote him off the island...
Yeah,
and there
he's
was-
not
and-
wrong.
and-
He is the only one.
No, because you know what? Every person on this stage has shown the respect for Republican voters to come here, to express their views honestly, candidly, and directly, and to take your questions honestly. I have respect for every man and woman on this stage because they've done it. Vivek, put your hand down for a second, would you?
Except for you. Fuck off.
I still got time, dude. So chill out. Here, look. This guy has not only divided our party, he's divided families all over this country. He's divided friends all over this country. I've spoken to
That's
people I know
true.
everyone
That's a
else
really
has,
good point.
who have sat at Thanksgiving dinner or at a birthday party.
This is
and
great.
Can't have a conversation.
This is awesome.
Anymore
Seriously.
if they disagree
Very
with Donald
good.
Trump.
Yeah.
He needs
This
to be
is great.
voted off the island, and he needs to be taken out of this process.
Can we get Vivek 15 seconds?
You got 15 seconds,
I
Vivek.
appreciate that, Steve. Look, I have a different view on this. I think Trump was an excellent president. But
That's
the
'cause you're a
America
fucking
First
idiot.
agenda does not belong to one man. It does not belong to Donald Trump. It doesn't belong
So
to
one
me.
person tried to clap and
It
realized they were the
belongs
only
to
one
you,
clapping and stopped.
the people of this country. And the question is, who's going to unite this country and take the America First agenda to the next level?
Not you.
When we rallied behind the cry to make America great again, we did not just hunger for a single man. We
hungered for fascism.
Pursuit of excellence. So yes, I will respect
Excellent of the white race.
the right thing to do. But we
Take
will
his mic
unite
away.
this country to take the America First agenda.
I
to the
think
next
I think
level.
with the exploding podiums should be a thing, you know?
Some Austin Powers shit. Press a button, they get dumped into lava.
Second Republican primary debate.
You talk over your
live from
time,
the
you get
Ronald Reagan
lavaed.
Presidential Library.
Thank you to all the candidates. We've loved having you here tonight, and we will see you out on the campaign trail. Have a great evening.
Well, they're trying to sign out so fast. They went over time, I
They
guess.
just want to get the fuck out of there. Fucking hell. What a
That was-
disaster.
That was awesome. That was so much better than I could have imagined it. All right. What was our predictions before? We forgot about Tim Scott. Tim Scott was the biggest turnaround for sure.
Yeah, he really
Except
was.
he was pissing me off at the end talking over Nikki Haley.
Yeah, Nikki Haley really got shafted this time.
Mm-hmm.
Although
She
her
also
answers
stumbled
weren't
in the beginning.
fantastic. Yeah, she was stumbling hard.
Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Vivek is the cuck. The North Dakota guy, don't know his name, creepy Joker man. He turned it around at the end. Who is the most cringe? You said Vivek, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you say Vivek? Who did I
Yep,
say?
and I stand by that prediction.
Who did I say? Mike Pence? Mike Pence wasn't really that cringe. Besides, who advocated for genocide? Who was that? Was that DeSantis or Vivek?
I think it was Vivek. You'll find out
Gross.
in the end.
Gross. What else? What other predictions do we have?
What did we say?
Who do you think the audience is gonna pick to be the top?
Who said the most racist shit?
I think I don't know. Vivek probably.
Whoever that was.
Well, it's Donald Trump. That's who it's gonna. That's who they're gonna pick as the winner
yeah.
of the debate. The guy who didn't show up. All right. That's not going to even need as much editing as besides clicking the wrong thing. So what do we want to sign off with? How about this one?
You famously said that the name Fredo was like the N-word for Italians.
Yes, that was a mistake.